ICENET. Dynasties live here.
Than in the reverse.
And the Rangers, of course, played John Van Beesbrook in all 7 regular season games against the New York Islanders, yet they start Richter in the first 2. Tonight, Van Beesbrook gets the start. You have to think it's to keep him sharp and in the action because he's been off since the 1st of April, the last regular season game.
Yes, he has 24 playoff games. He's played very well. He's had a couple of shutouts in playoff hockey. John Van Beesbrook really got the Rangers over the long term as far as the season is concerned, and they're giving him an opportunity to play here. They'd love to have both goaltenders sharp.
And the Islanders would like to get their specialty team sharp. They killed off Ranger power plays in Game 1, then gave up 3 power play goals against in Game 2. They've yet to do very much with their own power play.
No, their own power play, Jigs, is very, very hurt. I mean, it's 0 for 10, as a matter of fact. They just have not been able to score. That has hurt them more than anything. You've got to punish the opposition when they take penalties, particularly when they take bad penalties, and that's what the Islanders got into. In Game 1, they took bad penalties. Wasn't nearly as costly, but Game 2, as you pointed out, 3 power play goals by the Rangers. That hurt the Islanders. They couldn't sting back.
And the other thing that hurt, of course, the loss of Pat LaFontaine with 1 minute and 17 seconds left in Game 1. He will not be back tonight. There was speculation that he may play. Forget it. He cannot dress for this game.
No, he can't. He's not operating on all cylinders yet, but I figure by Wednesday he should be all right. He's pale and a little bit shaky still.
So the Islanders go up against the Rangers, hoping to get back into the series. The opening faceoff coming up from the Nassau Coliseum right after these messages.
A lot of questions being asked. Can the Islanders survive with Pat LaFontaine? Well, the answer will be whether the other players on the forward line can compensate. Will they get a game out of David Volek? Of course, Derek King is another one who has to contribute more, and several others who we've seen. Can Brian Trottier fill in at center? He's a key man. He's got a lot of playoff experience, and he already has a playoff goal. Those are the questions, and of course, Glenn Healy in goal. Can he come up with the big game? Jigs, Eddie?
All right, Stan, that's why we're all gathered here at the Nassau Coliseum. We'll see what happens. Happy Passover to those who are unable to be with us this evening. Hope you're settled back and ready to enjoy tonight's game between the Islanders and the Rangers. The goaltending matchup that we've talked about, of course, John Van Beesbrook for the New York Rangers. The Beezers, he's called, 26 years of age, played 47 games this season. You see his mark at .500, 19, 19, and 7 with a 3.38 goals against average, 1 shutout, and his lifetime record against the Islanders regular season is 16, 8, and 6. He's played only 1 minute of playoff hockey against the Islanders. Glenn Healy getting the start. Healy with a lifetime record of a win and 3 losses in Stanley Cup playoff action. Terry Gregson referees tonight. Gauthier and Hodges working the lines as Brent Sutter dumps it into the Ranger zone. And Beesbrook plays it right back to the corner. That's Chris Nyland slapping it down into the Islander zone. He didn't put much on it, and icing is waved off as Dinnick got back. He's given it to Ken Baumgartner. Baumgartner had served that 1-game suspension, dumps it off the boards. The Rangers go back. Hardy with a pass. Nichols gets knocked down by Dinnick. And here's Nyland taking the pass across 2 lines and offside.
Interesting lineup to start the hockey game. Right winger got Nyland, and the left winger for the Islanders, Ken Baumgartner. Messages, I guess both teams trying to send, although Al Arbor gets to set his lineup after he sees who the Rangers are starting. Of course, the same advantage goes to the Rangers the first 2 games at Madison Square Garden.
Interesting, on Sports Channel America last night, talking with Doug Carpenter, the Toronto Maple Leafs coach, he said it doesn't really matter that last change unless you have the lead. you haven't got the lead, not going to work for you. Crossman and Nyland now, the Islander defense. McDonough up front along with Alan Kerr on right wing and Don Maloney on the left. As Gary Nyland hammered into the boards from behind. What a hit! I mean, Mike Gartner isn't that kind of player. Wow. He really cross-checked the Islander defenseman.
He didn't have to cross-check him. He just hit him that hard. It's a boarding penalty. It's a charging penalty. Could be cross-checking. Here on the center ice mark. No, he just put his shoulder. It's a charging or boarding. It could be either or. So the Islanders have an opportunity here. 50 seconds into the hockey game. You can see that Mike Gartner must be pumped more than he generally is to hit Gary Nyland. Nyland's going by the bench now, by the penalty bench, and he was talking to Mike Gartner, laying some groundwork for possibly something in the future of this hockey game. As Gartner sits in the penalty box, the Islanders go to the power play. They have not scored a power play goal with 10 opportunities so far in the first 2 games.
There are your numbers, 0 for 10. Difficult to figure out that average, is it? The Islanders with Crossman and Norton on the points. Wallach up front with Sutter and Flatley, and the pass is tipped out into the center ice zone. Good job by Jansen. Ian Erickson up front for the Rangers. Back on defense. Rochefort on the left side, Muller on the right. The Islanders in a little difficulty here in the lone end of the ice. Erickson getting to the puck. Crossman knocked it away, and here's Brent Sutter. Now to Norton. Steps over center ice into the Rangers zone. Wallach moves in on the right side. The pass works its way around the boards to Wallach. Into Sutter. Sutter unable to center it. Norton comes racing in off the point. Can't get it to Sutter. It goes off Muller. Right to Brent Sutter. Now to Wallach. Wallach looks toward Crossman. Beats it to Sutter instead. Back to Wallach. Wallach to Sutter at the side of the net. It's turned behind the net and comes out in front. And that was blocked by Muller. Wallach takes it from Sutter. Fed it on to Crossman. Into Wallach. David Wallach to Norton, who comes right in on goal. To Sutter. He scores!
Just what the doctor ordered. A power play goal. Their first one. With just over or just under 2 minutes played in the game, the Islanders have a 1-0 lead. David Wallach, beautiful pass. Norton crept in. He feeds it to Sutter, and he deflects it through the legs of John Van Beesbroek. First shot on goal of the hockey game. The Islanders have a 1-0 lead. Brent Sutter with his first playoff goal of the year. Good passing. Wallach, what a move here by Norton to get himself clear. And there, between the legs, Brent Sutter has gained a 1-0 lead for the Islanders.
So the power play finally clicks. Sutter with his 23rd Stanley Cup goal ever. The 151 mark. Pass by Norton, finding Sutter in the goal mouth area as well. Now Diddick comes down the right side. Got checked by Rodnick. Rangers. Mark Hardy clearing it into center ice. Lauer dumps it into the Rangers zone. Trottier goes in after it. Bumps with Hardy, and the puck goes back in the net for Lauer. Lauer taken to the boards by Kelly Kissio. Then Lauer is able to slip the check and feeds Diddick. Diddick dumps it in toward the corner. That's Trottier playing it around behind the net. And he would put it back in the net again, and James Patrick tries to move it up the wing. Baumgartner comes racing in to put a hit on Mullen. Meantime, good play by Wood, slipping away from Kissio. Centers, Diddick with a shot, pad save. The rebound by Trottier is deflected and goes up into the seats. The pushing and shoving after the whistle, as we became accustomed to in Game 2 in this series. A little scrum. And Beesbrook way out of the goal mouth now, as you see. The Islanders have taken a 1-0 lead. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on SportsChannel.
Power play goal by Brent Sutter was the first power play goal in playoff hockey going back to 1983 for the Islanders against the Rangers. They did not get one. They were 0 for 21 in the 84 playoffs.
Wow. Double penalties here. Hardy and Lauer in the respective penalty boxes. Ball at the 2:40 mark, and we watch Gartner move in off right wing. Shoots Healy to save. Comes out poking at the rebound. It came right back to him, and now he dives on it to get a whistle.
An elusive puck for Glenn Healy. First time that the Rangers have been able to get down into the Islanders' end of the ice and give Healy anything to do. Much different style goaltender than Mark Fitzpatrick. When Fitzpatrick is playing well, he's a stand-up angle player in the nets with good feet and hands. Healy, you'll see him diving and leaping around in his net and out of his net. Much more acrobatic goaltender. Glenn Healy put into the game about halfway through it in game 2 without having warmed up. He had been sitting for well over 2 hours and played well.
Norton after the puck in the Islander end of the ice, got it to the line. There's Lindy Ruff, long shot, kicked out. The rebound was there for Gartner, and he couldn't handle it. Mike Gartner puts it back to the net for Nichols. Winnie Nichols, it's away from Bronstrand, zigzags over on the far side of the ice, now dumps one in off Healy. Roy Millette gets to it. Norton takes him into the corner, the puck loose for Gartner, drops it off for Nichols, and flatly strips him of it, leads it up to Sutter. Pass ice to David Bollock. Bollock moving in on Greshner. Puts the puck in the corner, goes in after it, then shoulder to shoulder with Greshner. Sutter gets swept out on the end boards, but recovers and tries to wrap around the both goal. The Ranger net came up off the pegs, and now play is called as it's totally ajar.
Water bottle tipped over. It was tipped from behind that time. Usually they run into it from the front. Somebody caught it coming out from behind the net. The water bottle ends up on the ice. Another stoppage of play.
And while the play is stopped, Gary Nyland and the training staff headed down the runway toward the Islander dressing room. That goes back to the hit thrown by Gartner. Here's a save by Healy.
Good save. There's the rebound as the Rangers try to control that. They're out shooting the Islanders 3-2, but it's the Islanders in front 1-0. Nyland was limping his right leg. Whether or not he's got the knee problem again, we'll have to wait and see. We can get some information up from the Islanders dressing room. We have a problem with the ice behind John Van Viesbroek's goal.
So while that's being repaired, we'll remind you that you're watching New York Islanders hockey on SportsChannel.
You never know.
Into the ice. Moeller right on curb, and here's Maloney with it. Maloney trying to get away from the checking of Norman Rochefort, then his pass was picked off and has been dumped out into the Islander zone by Chris King. This is Diddick. Played it off Jeff Finley's back. Finley takes a hit. King bumping him, but he managed to get it to Alan Kerr. Kerr having trouble handling it. Now clears the zone, and it's ahead of Maloney. Back into the Ranger zone goes Moeller. Randy Moeller parks back in the net, waits for his teammates to move out, and gave the puck to Darren Turcotte. Up into the center ice zone for Kerry Wilson, who's content to dump it in. Rangers going for a player change, and it's Crossman moving it to the left side. This is Maloney to Hubie McDonough. Flips it over to the right wing for Alan Kerr. Across the blue line. Kerr can't get it to McDonough in time, and Crossman handles it at center ice for the pass to Baumgartner. Baumgartner rattles one in around the boards. Alan Kerr steps in front of Jansen, but couldn't get the puck on his stick. Rochefort dumps it down the boards into the Islander zone off a stick, so there'll be no icing. Approaching the 5-minute mark, that's the time played in the opening period. Game 3, the Islanders up 1-0 on Brent Sutter's goal. The pass went to Derek King. Plays it to the right wing boards. Trottier going in after it. Trottier taken out by Lindy Ruff. Puck in and out of Trotier's skates. And recovered by Chris Nyland, who dumps it through center ice. That's Erickson chasing it, but Gromstan steps in front of him. Puts it back in the Ranger end. Ruff, who's playing the left side in their defense, has given the pass to Erickson. He's across the line, fed Patrick to Erickson, shoots Healy the save, and the rebound is cleared to the far corner. This is James Patrick. Patrick trying to find some room, plays it into the corner to Erickson. Baumgartner takes him to the boards. Now Chris Nyland comes up with a loose puck, turned it over, and Trottier clears it back into the center ice area. One key element, the Islanders taking care of things in their own end of the ice.
Very important as far as the Islanders are concerned. They do not want to give up any easy goals to the Rangers. They're too hard to get back for a team that has scored 3 goals in 2 games. The Islanders haven't been able to find the mark that well.
Here's Okrodnik with a pass that went behind Kissio. The Islanders with the lead for the first time in this series. Sutter dumping the puck in. It came out in front, and Rochefort up in front of Van Duesbroek, took it back in the net, and was met by Patrick Flatley. Here's David Pollock to Sutter. Flatley out in front. Sutter couldn't handle the puck. Well, he and Kissio go elbow to elbow. Diddick plays it around the boards. Norton in after it, trying to get it to Flatley, and the play broken up. Andy Moeller is dragged to the ice by Flatley's check. Brent Sutter tries to move it around Ogrodnik, comes back the other direction, but Brian Mullen is there, and the Rangers move it out to Kissio at center ice. Ogrodnik moving up on the play. Kissio holds it, and Pollock knocks it away from him. And Beesbrook out of the net. Plays it off the boards to Rochefort. The Islanders in the middle of a change. Diddick handling it at the blue line, dumps it into the Rangers zone, and that's Rochefort feeding it to Patrick. Up ahead into the skates of Kissio. Got it on the stick, and then was met by Diddick. Gerald Diddick, help from Don Maloney, but the Rangers up to the puck. Millette shoots, he scores!
As Chris Nyland would say, nobody can jump like Troy Millette. After he scores a goal, it's a tie hockey game. Millette turned and fired it at the net. It went high into the net. Here's Millette as he comes out of the corner. He fired it. You could see that Healy was down, trying to cover the low ice that went under the right arm. Now he jumps. Yep, there it is. Chris Nyland says nobody does it better than Troy Millette. The Rangers have a 1-1 tie now. They trailed 1-0 from just under 2 minutes, the start of the hockey game.
Millette's first Stanley Cup playoff goal comes at the 6:51 mark of the opening period here at the Nassau Coliseum, and the game is even. Ed Finley fed it to Maloney. Worked it out to center ice. Muller brings it right back in again. Hardy, rather, out on the far side. Now the Rangers change up. Muller has come up with Rochefort as McDonough rushes up with the puck and shot it off Van Beesbrook's catching glove. It came right back to him on the deflection off the glass, and there's no further play. With the score, the Islanders won and the Rangers won. Let's pause for a regional break.
Exactly 5 minutes after the Islanders had opened the scoring at 1:51. The Rangers at 6:51 have tied it up. Millette, who scored 13 goals during the regular season, gets his first playoff goal.
The 3 goals that the Islanders had in the opening 2 games of this series had all come in the second period. And obviously, Brent Sutter's goal is something new to them, new to play with the lead. And as you pointed out, Millette ties it up. Rangers right back on the puck in the Islander end, but Baumgartner plays it cross ice ahead of Kerr, and Rochefort slaps it back into the zone. Crossman feeds Baumgartner. Up it goes for Tom Fitzgerald. Turcotte couldn't check him, then Fitzgerald got a hip check thrown from Kerry Wilson. And Beesbrook works it around the glass, and out at center ice, Crossman handles it down. Doug Crossman overled Lauer, the puck loose. Lauer flips it back to left wing, but out of the reach of Fitzgerald. And we watch Kerry Wilson set up and clear the puck out into the center ice zone on behalf of the Rangers. Ends up deep in the Islander territory. This is Crossman to Lauer, standing at center ice, and he just turned it over to Gartner. Gartner steps over the line, fakes the shot, trying to get in around Baumgartner. Circles the net, can't get the stuff in. Gartner puts it back to the goal. This is Bernie Nichols. Rolls it out in front, and Crossman cutting through, knocked it away from Gartner. Lauer clears it to center. Greshner fakes, now shoots it right back in. Healy slows it up for Crossman. Tries the left wing boards. Lauer and Greshner were there together, and the puck ends up deep in the Ranger zone. Lindy Ruff turns on Trottier. It's out of the corner with a long pass to the center ice zone. Gartner put it right on Gronstrand's stick. Harry Gronstrand on the Islander defense has dumped it in and got away from Van Beesbrook. In quickly as Wood. He can't center it in time for King. Now Trottier nudges it back to Gronstrand. Shoots from the point. That was blocked at the defense as Greshner stepped in front of Wood and Trottier. Over the line with it is Gronstrand, but back to the play. Referee Terry Gregson spots some stick work, and we've got some penalties coming. Let's get an update from our Sports Nightly studios, and we'll check in right now. Bob?
At the Cap Center at Landover, Maryland, John Morris of the Devils slides the puck to Ken Danico. He is unchecked, and he's able to put a shot on net that Mike Liut can't hang on to. Devils lead the Capitals 1-0 in period 1. Back to the Nassau Coliseum.
New Jersey Devils trying to regain the home ice advantage. Going into Washington with the series tied 1-1. The Islanders and the Rangers are tied in this game at 1-1. But in the series, the Rangers lead 2-0.
Penalties to Nichols and King. 2 minutes each for roughing, the last stoppage of play. Teams really haven't been able to get into a flow in this hockey game. The intensity level is there. They have tried to skate, but so many pucks into the seats. Penalties. Many stoppages of play. We're just about halfway through the first period.
McDonough, Maloney, and Kerr out for the Islanders. The Jansen's line countering, and that pass out of the corner is turned aside by Van Beesbroek. Erickson moves it into the center ice zone, and that's Jansen stuffing it in. Erickson, Jansen's, and Nyland. They made things happen, and the pass out of the corner found its way to Erickson, but he was tightly checked by Crossman. Now Jansen's can't get a stick on it. Nyland does. Here's Nyland taken into the corner by Baumgartner. There's Erickson. Crossman pushes him against the board. Played back toward the corner. Baumgartner moves it around to the left side. Now Maloney is met by James Patrick, and here's Jansen's with a shot that's blocked. Maloney flips it through the center ice area. And going back, Mark Hardy. Hardy, long pass, down into the Islanders zone without anybody having touched it. Finley goes back to put a stick on it. That's an icing call against the Rangers. With the score tied 1-1 midway through the opening period, let's pause for a regional break. Look at the goal scorer for the New York Islanders. Captain Brent Sutter got them the lead at the 151 mark, and Troy Millette scored at 6:51. Game all even at this point as the Rangers control the puck in their own zone. Moeller worked it across to Ogrodnik, who dumped it to center, and here's Flatley. Flatley shooting it wide at Van Beesbroek. Moeller took his eye off it, and quickly Bollig was on him. Brent Sutter trying to dig it out of Moeller's skates. To his former Lethbridge Broncos junior teammates, Moeller and Sutter, and the puck spun into the mesh behind Van Beesbroek, and play is called.
You have to recognize the fact, too, that David Bollig, who was physical last year when he played for the Islanders, 25 goals, wasn't nearly as physical this year. But here in the playoffs, he has become much more physical. In the second game and here early in the third game, he's been using his body regularly. As Nyland returns from the Islanders dressing room, David Bollig.
Under that helmet is a new little innovation in his haircut. He has NYI. New York Islanders cut into the temple, both left and right side of his head.
Is that like branded?
Almost. I asked him what happened.
Like a brand, doesn't it?
And I asked him what happened. He said his daughter got after him with the scissors. Then he just laughed and said, no, he had it done on purpose.
Kind of cute. Well, in the old days, they used to say that the player has his crest tattooed on his underwear. Now they've got it in their hair.
Brent Sutter playing the puck in a little deeper in the Ranger zone. Lindy Ruff with his first game in the series. Checked by Flatley. Sutter gets to the puck. Had it in his skates. Ronstrand tries to pry it off the boards, and it won't go anywhere, and we get a whistle. Just over 9 minutes remaining in the opening period here at the Nassau Coliseum.
Islanders have to be thinking 60 minutes of intensity. The last time they beat the New York Rangers, they showed that in a 6-3 win here. Nothing short of that for playoff hockey. Not to take the bad penalties they have taken in the first 2 games, at least 4 in each game that were penalties they wish they had not taken.
An outshot 5-3 by the New York Rangers to this stage. Trache gets the puck back to Norton, and his shot went wide of the Ranger net. In after it is Brad Lauer, and it's knocked away from him. Up comes Turcotte. Shot it right back in a give and go with Wilson, and then shot it wide. Darren Turcotte, who had a fine rookie season for the Rangers. Trying to make things happen here, but the Islanders have cleared it into center ice. Backboard is Greshner. Shot it in off Gronstrand. Racing it after it is Chris King. Gronstrand stepped in front of him, and that gave Norton a chance to pick up the puck. Played it to left wing to Lauer. Now to Trache. Back to Lauer. Lauer over the Ranger line, and the player in ahead of him, the teammate, and that puts everything offside.
Talking about Darren Turcotte, as you get a look at Brian Trache, Turcotte with 32 goals, 66 points. Brian Trache, of course, it was his quick shot in Game 1 that gave the Islanders their only goal. Raised the hopes of the Islanders. Much needed. The Islanders are relying on Brian Trache to take some of the ice time that Pat LaFontaine normally would. Trache moves to left wing when Pat LaFontaine is on the team or in the lineup. Now he's going to be a centerman where he has played all of his years with the Islanders.
Playing in his 174th Stanley Cup playoff game tonight. Now there's 64 goals, 18 of them on the power play, 4 shorthanded, 10 of those goals Stanley Cup game winners. 1 came in overtime. Gary Nyland back on the Islander defense, giving the puck to Doug Crossman. Now to Nyland. Island clears the zone with a pass to McDonough. Back to Crossman. Up to McDonough. Headed to the left side to Kerr. Kerr's shot is off Van Beesbroek's blocking glove and into the seats back of the net. 8 minutes, 17 seconds remaining in the opening period. Game 4 in this series will be here at the Coliseum on Wednesday night. 7:30, 7:35 face-off. Look at Kelly Kissio. And for those unable to attend tonight, that will be Ticket B. Ticket B.
Plus-minus leader, Kelly Kissio, 21st Ranger captain, 22 goals, 44 assists this past season, 66 points, playing in 68 hockey games.
Kissio will face off against Brent Sutter. Talk about a couple of close friends. I got that right here. Number 11 for the Rangers, number 21 for the Islanders. One of the Western Canadian boys.
Kissio and his line in the last 22 games, they had 87 points. Kissio, Mullen, and O'Grodny.
Sutter ties up Kissio on the faceoff. Got the puck to Volek for a shot into the catching glove of Van Beesbroek, who comes out to play it. Shot it off the boards into center ice, and Crossman is there. Crossman flips one high that goes over the boards into the Islander players' bench. With the score tied 1-1, we remind you you're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel.
All four. They're on the power play, and they have the puck. Cross-ice pass to Phil Housley. He puts one on net. Patrick Roy can't find it through a screen. Buffalo in front by a 1-0 score in period number 1. Meanwhile, at the Hartford Civic Center, the Bruins moving the puck. Cam Neely puts it on net. Peter Sidorkovich makes the save, but Bobby Carpenter gets his third playoff goal. 1-0 Bruins. Now back to the Nassau Coliseum.
Power play with the score tied 1-1. You're watching New York Islanders hockey on Sports Channel.
Penalty for tripping in his own end of the ice. You can see that he's mad. He's not mad so much for the fact that he got the penalty. He got caught getting the penalty is what makes him mad. Thought he might get away with it.
That is not a playoff beard. That's just the normal one-day growth for Donnie.
Yeah, he takes a shower before the game. Then he doesn't after.
Patchwork being done along the boards as you looked at the numbers on the Ranger power play in the series. On the season, the New York Rangers power play was much better than a year ago. Up from 19th last season, finished 5th best in the league. Went from 18.6% to 23.3%. Nichols will take the face-off here, winning the draw. Patrick played it to the blue line for Turcotte. Over to James Patrick. Back to Turcotte. Tried to turn it toward Gartner, and then got it again and shot one wide. Here's Gartner. Trying to make the play to the left. Picks up a loose puck, shoots just wide of Healy. Patrick waiting for it at the left point. Take a look at Turcotte. Now he likes to shoot one high over the crossbar, and it rebounds to Nichols for a drive. Healy down, makes the save, and holds on to it.
Good job by the Islander defensive corps. The Rangers moving the puck well. Gardner on one side, Nichols on the other, with Millette in the middle. The Islander defense corps keeping the front of the Islander net, around the net, open so that Nichols' shot, Healy could get a good look at. There's Bernie Nichols over on the far side going after him. Gerald Diddick, there's the shot. Healy, as I said, he plays his goal much differently than Mark Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick, a stand-up angle goaltender, and Healy is more apt to be down and jumping up and down again and back up again.
Healy appeared in 39 games for the Islanders in the regular season. Launches his old teammate Bernie Nichols with the pass across to James Patrick, who takes it off the board. Patrick faked at the blue line. Avenue opened up. Healy stretching out to make the save, and play is called. A holding penalty. Something spotted by Terry Gregson in the goal mouth here.
Doug Crossman, I believe, holding on to Mike Gartner. And the Islanders now are going to be 2 men short. Maloney still in the penalty box. Take a look here, and there's Mike Gartner as he weaves his way into the top of the goal crease. Diddick pushes him away, goes for the side of the net, and here, shoving at him. Now, see him reach out? He's got both hands on him now. Gartner's smart enough. He wasn't really going to fall, decided on his own to fall down, that draws the attention of Terry Gregson. If you put just one arm over his shoulder or around his waist, that's okay. But as soon as you put the second one, the players recognize it. Gardner, a veteran, falls down, draws the second penalty to the Islanders.
Two-man advantage for the Rangers. For a minute and 13 seconds, they set up the cross-ice pass that didn't find its way to Mullen in time. Patrick has given it to Turcotte. In deep, that's Kissio setting up O'Grodnik. What a save by Healy.
Wow, what a save is right, Jiggs McDonald. A left pad save, point-blank range. John O'Grodnik, who 43 times during the regular season and twice in the playoffs has scored. Here's the pass from the side. He lets it go right away. Somewhat anticipating the play, Healy is able to get his left pad out quickly and take it away from John O'Grodnik.
Excellent passing by the Rangers, and as you said, the anticipation of Healy read the play beautifully, making the save.
You have to gamble a little bit when you're 2 men short, and the Rangers moving the puck well.
In Game 2 on Saturday night, the Rangers had a full 2-minute two-man advantage, and the Islanders killed that off and yielded a power play goal on the major penalty, the balance of which was served later on. Here's O'Grodnik over the line again. His pass, a bad one this time, and Patrick unable to get to it. We just saw Sutter clear it out. This is Darren Turcotte. Feeds it to right wing for Mullen. New York City native pulls up in the boards, feeds it back to Turcotte. Over to Mullen, back to Turcotte. Turcotte shoots one, deflected on Kissio, and that goes up into the crowd.
It went off Kelly Kissio, so the referee, Terry Gregson, says the face-off down to the other end of the ice.
Kissio is saying, it was off an Islander player, but Terry Gregson says, I saw it all the way, and he'll face it off outside the blue line.
I think I said the other end. No, that's only if the Rangers were to dump it out into the crowd, but that deflected off. There's Kissio. You could see the right leg of Healy stretch out in anticipation. I suppose you'd call it guesswork, whatever you want. Kissio doesn't like the idea that the face-off should go outside the Islander blue line, but that's where it's going to be.
Ryan Trottier over to the penalty box to relay some information to Maloney and Crossman. Maloney went off for tripping at 12:13. Crossman for holding at the 13-minute mark. Still 26 seconds left in the penalty to Maloney. And Crossman sits. The Rangers get the draw here, and Patrick brings it across the line. James Patrick trying to center one through. Barry Wilson couldn't get to it. Turcotte holds it at the blue line, moves in about 3 steps, centered one off Wilson. He turns, still can't get to it, and now centers, and the drive from Nichols is blocked. James Patrick held it in. Wilson trying to center. Diddick forces it back toward the corner. Barry Wilson's pass spun off McDonough, right to Diddick, and down the ice it goes. Maloney is out of the penalty box. The Islanders only 1 man short. The game tied 1-1. Less than 6 minutes to go in the opening period as Turcotte feeds it to center ice. That's Gartner moving it to the right side for Moeller. Diddick reached in to knock it away from him. Way out of the net is Healy to shovel it toward the corner. Rangers trying to get to it there. Gartner puts it back in the net. Nichols shovels it to Wilson. Back to the blue line. Here's Turcotte. Takes once, feeds it across. Nichols, a shot picked out by Healy. The rebound of Gartner, Spinorama move, and it went wide. Nichols sets him up. Gartner's shot misses again. Comes back to the point. Held in by Moeller with a pass to Wilson. Barry Wilson around a sprawl. Diddick giving to Turcotte, and Trottier blocked it. Now Turcotte another shot. Healy the save, and he dives out to cover it. Just as Crossman is released from the penalty box, the Islanders get big saves from Healy, and they're back at full strength.
5 shots on goal the Rangers had. Between the 2 penalties to the Islanders, a standing ovation, and rightfully so, to Glenn Healy and the penalty killers of the New York Islanders. 5 minutes remaining in the first period. Yeoman's work, tiring work, a lot of times going unrecognized. Diddick falls, gets up quickly. The Islanders have to adjust. Turcotte, his shot blocked by Brian Trottier. His next one, a blistering shot. Healy is able to make the save. Stop the play with Crossman coming out of the penalty box. The teams go to even strength.
Our crack statisticians tell us that of the 5 shots, only 1 came with a 2-man advantage. And they are right on things tonight. 1-1 is the score. Brent Sutter on a power play goal for the Islanders. Troy Millette tied it 5 minutes later. We have exactly 5 minutes left in the opening period. I'm Jiggs McDonald, along with Ed Westfall and Stan Fischler at the Nassau Coliseum. Trache on the draw with Janssens. The puck held in at the blue line. Rochefort dumps it back to the Islander net. Eric King waited for it here on left wing and turned on Nyland and plays it around to the right side. Wood knocked it out of the air and it bounces back inside the Ranger zone. This is Norman Rochefort. Long pass to Nyland. And to drop it back to Rochefort, and the defenseman picks it up now with Trache right on. Rochefort got away from Brian Trache. It's cleared the zone. Janssens leads it. Erickson had to reach back. Now dumps it into the Islander zone and takes a hit back of the play from Trache. Baumgartner tied up on the boards by Chris Nyland. Baumgartner slips the check. Tries to get it to King, and immediately Muller was on him. Eric King in and out of some traffic. Baumgartner bumped on the boards by Nyland as he fed it to Crossman. Up left wing to Derek King. King trying to move in on Muller. The pass to Trache off the tip of his stick. Centers one that hit Wood as he crossed in front of the net. Now Trache works it back. Crossman up the slot. What a save by Van Beesbroek. Crossman with it again. Puts it across the front of the net. Nobody there for the Islanders. And Janssens has dumped it to center ice. And Baumgartner tipped it to Crossman. He couldn't find Wood, who was moving up. Now Crossman puts it on Wood's stick. He steps over the line. Shoots one. Van Beesbroek the save. And the rebound off Rochefort. Held in by Maloney. Back to Grodstrand coming late. He shoots. That's blocked in front. Goes right to Norton. In front to Wood. He can't get the shot away. And then McDonough puts it in the corner. Grodstrand takes his man into the boards heavily. Meantime, McDonough rolls it around the boards in the Rangers zone. Maloney and Rochefort battle for it. Maloney centers it, but right to Nyland, and the Rangers flip it out through center ice.
Fine pressure by the Islanders. Good check by Gronstrand. He went all the way down into the corner to get John O'Grodnick.
Now the Rangers control it at center ice. Brian Mullen dumps it in. Norton flagged it out of the air, feeds it up ahead to Kerr. Kerr is knocked off the skates by Lindy Rutt. Hear the reaction of the crowd in the background as we watch Mullen giving it to Greshner, now to Kissio. Just out of his reach, Gerald Diddick is giving it to Volek, now to Brent Sutter. Little less than 3 minutes to go in the opening period. 1-1 is the score. Sutter over the Ranger line, shoots, and Beesbroek the save. Sutter after the rebound, and it's covered now and held by Van Beesbroek. The Islanders scored first, the Rangers tied it up. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on SportsChannel.
Boston leading Hartford 1-0. The Whalers 0 for 14 on the power play in the series, but Bradshaw puts it on net, tipped home by Ron Francis. It's a power play goal to tie it at 1. Hey, the Whalers like it. They try it again on the power play. Shaw again with the shot. Puck comes loose, and Pat Verbeek tips it home. 2-1 Whalers in the first. And now the Bruins have tied it at 2. Back to the Nassau Coliseum.
Had their problems at home this season. That series tied 1-1 going into Hartford tonight, and here the score is 1-1 as we watch Gary Nyland with a shot that was blocked by Van Beesbroek. Sutter leaves it in the corner for Patrick Flatley. Flatley knocked to the ice by Hardy. David Volek steps into his man. Harry Wilson, and Nyland tees one up, tipped off Flatley's stick, and Van Beesbroek sharp. Here's Volek with a shot. Sutter battles for it. Comes out of the goal mouth, and Brent Sutter feeds it back to Nyland. Nyland fires one around the boards. Flatley can't trap it. Chris King, a collision with David Volek, who jumped off his skates to get to the Ranger player. Now James Patrick moves it out through center ice. This is Darren Turcotte across the Islander line. The play was offside. Diddick had knocked it loose anyway. And the clock stopped with 2 minutes and 3 seconds remaining in the first period.
Ever since the Islanders killed off the two-man disadvantage to them, they have lifted their level of play. Some good scoring opportunities. David Volek, Pat Flatley, Brent Sutter. The line has been probably it has been the strongest line for the Islanders so far. Get a look at Darren Turcotte. He scored regularly all season long against the Islanders. 7 goals in 7 games in the regular season. So far has not been able to get even some good scoring opportunities against the Islanders in the playoffs.
Man who was writing on the pad as they panned the Ranger bench, Roger Nielsen. Something else to add to the grocery list.
Forgot to buy the dog food.
Might be. Randy Wood slaps the puck into the Ranger zone. It comes around to the left side to Trache. Shoots Van Beesbroek, the stick save. Trache digs it out of the corner. Couldn't get it to King in time. And here's Bernie Nichols. Ahead it goes to Mike Gartner, trying to play it around Norton, who reached in to knock it loose. Norton leads King. Has Trache with him. Norton comes up to join the play as King carries the puck. Gave it to Trache, and he couldn't get into position to shoot it. Now Gromstrand at the blue line. Got it to Trache. Back to Randy Wood. Up the slot with a drive that's blocked, and King got flattened in front of the net. Ernie Nichols carries the puck to the center ice stripe. Over the Islander blue line. His team changing up. Nichols holds it. Looks for some help. Found some in the form of Eriksson. Now Eriksson turns it over as King intercepted the pass intended for Greshner. And back to the Rangers. And Beesbrook. Look up that pass to Nichols. On to Nyland. Back to Nichols. Nichols overshot it. Gets to it again. It's checked and the puck comes to center ice. Alan Kerr brings it over the Ranger line with a long shot that's deflected. Less than a minute to go in the period as Greshner takes over now. Veteran Ranger defenseman out on the right side. Dumps it into the Islanders zone. Then peels back for a player change. And Healy, after trapping it, tries to move it up the left wing boards. It's ahead of Maloney, and Janssens gathers it in at the center ice stripe. Janssens, the goal in each of the first two games, has dumped it in, and Alan Kerr waits for it on right wing and plays a long pass to McDonough. Half a minute to go in the period. McDonough steps over the Ranger line, gave it to Maloney. In front to McDonough. Oh, Maloney shoots, and that went wide. Oh, they got him into good possession, and Maloney's pass was there, but Hubie McDonough missed the net. Nyland turns it over. Nyland for the Rangers now to Ogrodnik. He shoots one to change direction. Hubie McDonough steps out of the corner. Gives it to Don Maloney. Maloney works the puck into the center ice area off Alan Kerr, and that's going to do it for the opening period. Well, it wasn't nearly as physical as many had anticipated. The boys got to hockey in a good, strong first period by both teams. The Islanders got the opening goal. The Rangers come back. And you see Nyland hobbling a little as he went down the runway toward the New York Ranger dressing room. We're at the end of one period of play with the score tied. The Islanders won, the Rangers won. Let's pause for a regional break.
America will get you caught up on all of the scores after this timeout. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel America. New York, Bob Papa along with former New York Island defenseman Dennis Potvin. Well, over the last 24 hours and the last 24 games, the New York Islanders have just struggled. They've only had 3 wins. Subtract Pat LaFontaine from that lineup, and their next win may not come until next year. Now, down 2-0, the Islanders are hosting the Rangers for Game 3 of their series. At the Nassau Coliseum, first period, Islanders tally first. David Volek passes over to Jeff Norton. He feeds Brett Sutter for the tip-in. They beat John Van Beesbrook 1-0. The Islanders' first power play goal of the playoffs. 5 minutes later, Rangers get even. Troy Millette snaps one past Glenn Healy to tie this game up at 1 apiece, and that's where they stand after period number 1. Dennis Potvin, when you take a look at the Islanders, Pat LaFontaine is out. Brent Sutter got a power play goal. Is he the key for their power play?
Brent Sutter is one of the players that's key. The other 2 players are the players that contributed assists on his goal, the power play goal, David Volek and Norton. Now, these 2 players, I think, can really help. Volek has not scored a lot this year, but is capable of scoring a lot. Norton, just as he did on the power play, saw some movement. Pat LaFontaine out of the lineup means that the whole team's a lot slower. But if everybody picks it up and keeps moving and moving, quickness can make the power play very effective, Bob.
All right, through the first 2 games of the Devils series with the Capitals, we've seen 4 different goalies. Chris Terreri replaced Sean Burke for the Devils in Game 2. Mike Liut was replaced by Don Beaupre in Game 2 after the Capitals fell behind by 3 goals. Musical goalies continue tonight at the Cap Center. We take a look at the action. Scoreless first period. John Morris to Ken Danico. He gets it past Liut, 1-0 Devils. The Capitals have had a number of scoring opportunities, and Chris Terreri in net has been spectacular so far. End of the first period, and the Devils lead it by a 1-0 score. Great play by Chris Terreri in net for the New Jersey Devils as Washington trying to beat him. And Dennis Potvin, you talk about that situation with the musical goalies. Beaupre played well in Game 2.
I don't understand either team in changing goalies, just alternating like that. Beaupre stopped 23 of 26 shots in Game 2, and I thought he was probably a lot better than Liut. The only reason I can think that they might go back to Liut is because of the size. You know that the Devils are going to crash the crease. Liut is a little bigger and a little more experienced. That may be the only reason. Other than that, I can't figure it out.
Okay, we'll be back to take a look at the Adams Division semifinals after this timeout on Sports Channel America. Seasons ago, they rode the hot play of goalie Patrick Waugh. Roy showed his 1986 form in Game 2 against the Sabres. Tonight at the Montreal Forum. First period, Sabres get on the board first on the power play. Doug Bodger feeds Phil Housley, and he risks it past Roy. 1-0 Sabres. Sabre defense coming up big. Bobby Smith feeds Shane Corson in front, but Darren Pupa is there for the save, and it is still 1-0 Montreal. And that's where they stand after period number 1. Meanwhile, Boston and Hartford tied up at 2 apiece. Hartford gets their first 2 power play goals of the playoffs. They have now had 2 power play goals in 16 opportunities. Well, that's a look at the NHL scoreboard for Dennis Potvin. I'm Bob Papa. Period 2 of the action you're watching coming up after this. Coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs continues tomorrow night right here on Sports Channel America. At 7:30 Eastern, the Blues will try to wrap up their series in Toronto. They lead it 3-0. At 8:30, Chicago is at Minnesota. Blackhawks lead that series 2-1. And at 10:30 Eastern time, the Calgary Flames against the Los Angeles Kings. Kings lead that series 2-1. Check your local listings. That's a look at tomorrow night's schedule here on Sports Channel America. More NHL action after this.
Yo, this is Mars Blackman in the house where action follows my main
Special privileges for playoff hockey.
Not a seat to be had for tonight's game. And a good view by the goalkeepers, Glenn Healy, and earlier you had a look at John Van Beesbrook. 1-1 is the score as we get set now for the second period. The Islanders sending out the forward line of Trottier, Kerr, and Lauer. Baumgartner and Crossman, the defense combination. Janssens with Nyland on one side, Eriksson on the other for the Rangers. Hardy playing the left point, handling the puck. James Patrick is the other New York Ranger defenseman. Puck dumped into the New York Islanders zone, and Crossman takes it back to the net. Let's Trottier pick it up. Trottier picks up a little speed, then fed it to Baumgartner. Back up to Trottier. Steps over center ice and dumps it into the Ranger zone. It's in after it, but Hardy is there. Mark Hardy missed a lot of games with that bad ankle. Doesn't show any ill effects here, but puts the play offside as he carries on into the Islanders zone, then got tangled up with Baumgartner. Alan Kerr came over to say something. Face it off outside the New York Islander blue line.
He's a fine puck handler, good skater. About ready to tee it up and blast one at Glenn Healy, but as he pulled the puck up to shoot it, it was on the blue line. That delay created the offside. Just 30 seconds into the second period, it's a 1-1 tie. The Islanders and the Rangers. Brent Sutter on a power play. Troy Millette 5 minutes later from Kissio and Patrick.
Al Arbor stalling a little. You see Nyland going back to the bench along with Eriksson and Janssens. They set out the Kissio line. And the Islanders counter. McDonough coming out with Randy Wood and Don Maloney. Al Arbor getting the matchup that he wants here on home ice. Rangers don't make an immediate change. They dump the puck into the Islanders zone, and Kissio and McDonough go shoulder to shoulder as the puck found its way to Diddy. The point, Rochford held it in. Kissio got turned around a little, and the Islanders move out of the zone. Here's Randy Wood at center ice. Long shot up high on Van Beesbrook, comes bouncing off the glass. Moeller got turned. Maloney going back to the net, trying to get it away from the big Ranger defenseman. And Mullen poking at it. On Maloney maintaining his balance, and the puck now it's kicked into the corner a little deeper. Randy Wood gives it to Maloney. Maloney centers to Wood. Can't get the shot off. Was in traffic with Kissio on one side and Mullen on the other. And then Moeller's check. McDonough away from a loose puck. Maloney knocked down here. And the Rangers are able to clear it off the boards down into the Islanders zone. This is going to be called back on an icing. You know, there's only one thing better than an icing.
Islanders down 2 men. It was Diddick, Flatley, and Sutter that drew the job of trying to kill it off, and they did. From that point on, the Islanders outshot the New York Rangers to the end of the first period. 7-0. Mike Gardner led the Capitals in playoff scoring 4 straight seasons.
And you go back to Game 7, I believe it was, of that series between the Caps and the New Jersey Devils in '87. Last time he put the puck in the net in the playoffs. Nichols controlling it after the faceoff, found Gartner open on right wing and gave him the puck. Mike Gartner dumps it in. Going back is Gronstrand. That got taken off his skates, and now it's frozen on the boards and long enough to get a whistle and a face-off deep in the Islanders' zone.
Well, complaining to the referee that he was knocked down from behind. He's not finished complaining yet. He's gone all the way across the ice to talk to Terry Gregson. That noise you're hearing is on the entertainment wall at center ice. They were showing one of the Stanley Cup years for the Islanders, carrying the coveted Stanley Cup around in the ice surface that everybody sees in front of them.
Just the mere sight of that piece of silverware excites everyone, doesn't it?
Yes.
Bernie Nichols very quiet when he came into the building tonight. Usually very talkative, but the concentration factor was there, wasn't it?
Tried to talk to him. We've got a delay here. Some heavy conversation now going on. Jeff Norton having some words with Millette. Now Nichols and the referee are having some more. Wow. God, I'm just that nosy that I'd love to know what's going on. I mean, it's just a lot of talking, a lot of milling around. Actually, the Gerard Gauthier, the linesman, is down to help patch up some of the ice here with the water bottle from the back of the Islander net. I asked Bernie Nichols, when he said after the trade had been made that he would only come to New York if he had an opportunity, or if someone made arrangements for him to, no, that's not patty cake, that's Gerard making new ice. If he had had an opportunity to get set up with golf, he said, gosh, how lucky can I be? My wife and I are staying at the Westchester Country Club. There's a beautiful big old hotel there, built back in the 20s and 30s, and he is living there.
Is he playing golf?
He wouldn't say. I'll guarantee with that sunburn he had, he didn't get that out on the ice.
Nobody's blown by him to give him windburn either, have they?
No.
Red Sutter in battling Nichols for the puck. Off the boards, David Volek feeds the blue line. This is Jeff Norton with a shot. And Beesbrook up at the top of the goal crease, blocked it, and Norton holds it in. And it to Volek, steps out of the corner, and turns, trying to go back in on Ruff. Plays it to the side of the net. Van Beesbrook covers it. And now a little scuffle as Flatley went right to Van Beesbrook, and the Rangers take exception to his presence.
They always go for the head. Of course, that's the balance factor. Try and tip somebody over. And Beesbrook, a good save a moment ago. Shot by Jeff Norton from the left point position. It was a good play by Volek to get the puck to him. Volek is so quick, so nimble. He has been playing so much better in the playoffs than he did during the regular season. He struggled most of the season. Near the end of the regular season, he seemed to be regaining some of his poise, some of his puck handling ability, and he was involved in the games physically and with the puck.
Now Trottier out to center for Wood and King. Trottier gets the draw to Diddick. The ice opens up with a shot turned aside by Van Beesbrook. Harry Wilson fell as the puck came to him, and the Islanders able to hold it in with that long shot. Finley putting it on target. Wood chases it back to the net. Line up a little bit. Derek King is bumped, comes away with the puck, only to be checked by Chris King of the Rangers. We watch Wilson move over center ice. On into the Islanders zone. A shot turned aside by Healy. Randy Wood can't get it away from from Chris King, rather. Chris King playing it in toward the corner to Wilson. It bounced away from him, and now Diddick handles it. 1-1 is the score. Still early in the second period here at the Nassau Coliseum. Rochefort backs in over the Ranger blue line. Makes the cross-ice pass to King. Lays it down into the Islander territory. This is Diddick moving it to Finley. Now to the Islanders, Derek King, who dumps it in. It's knocked out of the air by Rochefort, and that'll be called back. Contact made with a high stick. The score tied, 1-1. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel. Set for a face-off. Tom Fitzgerald out for the Islanders. Beats Jensen's on the draw. Jensen's, I should say. And Crossman's shot got through to Van Beesbrook. The Islanders are out shooting the Rangers 16-11 at this stage of the game. And the score till 1-1. Fitzgerald dropping it to Baumgartner. Lays it in around the glass. Alan Kerr cuts to right wing. The puck comes back to Crossman. Lays it in toward the corner. Fitzgerald can't get it in front to Kerr. Alan Kerr trying to move around Erickson. Fitzgerald in to join the play. Kerr looks for somebody in front, nobody to center it to. Moeller works it around to the opposite side. Crossman had it for a moment. Jansen knocks it away from him. It's recovered. Then Eriksson lost it. Rochefort clears the zone. Tight checking now between the Islanders and the Rangers.
These kinds of lines on the ice, you will see that. They're not exactly going for the open ice all the time.
Eriksson playing it back into Moeller. Moeller uses the left wing boards to feed the puck to Eriksson. It slipped off his stick, and Baumgartner works it up ahead. Here's Wood over the Ranger line. It's Moeller turn. Wood trying to cut in, and it goes off the goalpost. He crashed into Van Beesbrook. Fitzgerald was there as well, and they couldn't put the puck in. Now Jansen's is over the line. Nyland with a shot, and that ends up going wide of the net. Couple of Rangers down on the deck. The net off the pegs. And referee Terry Gregson has called the play. He's getting the appeal here from Jansen. At the score, the Islanders won and the Rangers won. Let's pause for a regional break.
Sense of zone. He gets a holding penalty. The Islanders get a power play. Take a look. End-to-end action here. Bodies all over the place. Who is holding on to who? And Jansen's has a hold of Ken Baumgartner's stick. I want it. You can see the referee with his arm in the air, Terry Gregson, signaling. Jansen looks at the referee, looks, says, "What? Are you kidding me? He was trying to spear me. What for?" Yeah, holding. Holding on to his hockey stick.
Second power play of the night for the New York Islanders. They're 1 of 1 with Gartner sitting out an interference penalty. Brent Sutter scored to give them the lead, and Sutter is there to take the face-off with Kissio. Flatley on the left, Wallach on the right. Crossman and Norton on the points for the Islanders. This is Doug Crossman after Sutter had won the draw. Crossman turns back. Nolan had moved up to forecheck. Now Wallach trying to come over center ice. The puck knocked off his stick.
Tough when you're making that kind of a pass, that short of a pass in the center ice area. Everybody else standing along the blue line, and it's easy to check the power play.
Norton with a good pass to Sutter into the Ranger zone, cuts to the right side. Puts it into the skates of David Wallach. Now back to Crossman. Off the boards to Wallach, and he couldn't get to it. There's Greshner to shoot at the length of the ice. That was on target, hitting Healy.
Wallach took his eyes off the puck. He was looking to where he was going to pass it next, or whether he was going to shoot it. The puck eluded him.
Breaking pass to Patrick Flatley, trying to get in on Greshner. Is tightly checked, and the puck goes to the corner for Sutter. Back now to Crossman. Crossman over to Norton on the left side. Goes in a little deeper, plays it off the defensive forward here, Eriksson, and it's Flatley freeing it up for Crossman. Crossman pulls up on the edge of the circle. Bees Wallach covering the point. Lets one go. Pad save by Van Beesbrook, and it spins right back to Norton. Jeff Norton plays it into Brent Sutter. Sutter looked toward the slot, gave it to Flatley. Glove save by Van Beesbrook. You talk about a beautiful glove save and a fine shot to begin with from Flatley. He was robbed by Richter in the earlier games at the Garden, game 1 in particular, and now Van Beesbrook beats him.
What a beautiful passing setup. There's Flatley as he takes the pass from Sutter. Wallach standing to the left of John Van Beesbrook, but he grabs the puck with a quick left hand. John Van Beesbrook has stopped the Islanders from gaining a goal lead. It's 1-1 in the second period. The Islanders are on a power play. Fine passing. The Islanders' power play, which scored their only goal of the game back at 1:51 of the first period, trying to set things up for another one here. Looks like we've got some more ice problems, which in itself is unusual for the Coliseum. Right on the top of Van Beesbrook's goal crease, they were trying to patch something up. The linesman now down. He's packing. He gets slush. He takes some snow, puts some water with it, and packs it into the hole. Here, Randy Wood, his rush. He drops the shoulder. He powers his way to the net. Watch the goalpost over on the far side. Partially checked. The puck goes over. Bang! It's off the goalpost there. Tom Fitzgerald trying to fight his way to the puck. Norman Rochefort is restricting him.
Now still 43 seconds left in this Islander power play as they control the puck in the Ranger zone. Norton takes it away from James Patrick's check. Dropped it back. King let it across to Norton. Tried to go cross ice. It spins back to King for a drive. Blocked in front of the net by Patrick. He gets checked. Eric King breaks the Ranger forward, or defensive play, I should say. And now King trying to come out of the corner here. Slips away from Patrick again. He's giving it to Dinnick. Shoots, and that hit the post. Dinnick goes in after it. Gerald Diddick playing the puck to Hubie McDonough. Gets center from back of the net. McDonough goes to the corner for it. Good pressure here by the Islanders for the man advantage. 2 seconds of the power play. Diddick's shot changes direction. And Hardy slaps it off the boards. The Rangers complete the job, shooting at the length of the ice. This is going to be an icing call. The clock stopped with 13 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in the second period. The Islanders get 2 shots on goal with the man advantage.
Gary Nyland now out. Good power play by the Islanders. I suppose on the other side, if you don't score and you scare the daylights out of the penalty killers and the goaltender, it was flatly scoring opportunity, the best one. And then a goal post. Gerald Diddick rips the shot to the left of Van Beesbrook there off the goal post, deflecting into the corner of the rink. He'd have loved to have it going into the corner of the net, but the Islanders' luck not rolling in that direction. Twice now in this hockey game, in this second period, the Islanders have hit the goal post. Randy Wood, just a moment earlier, we showed you as he charged the net. That time it was Diddick.
Trache trying to pull the puck away from Nichols on the draw. Comes around to the right wing boards for Alan Kerr. Millette bumps him. Strand held it in at the point with the pass in deeper to Trache. Can't center it. Alan Kerr bumped here by Troy Millette. And the young Ranger forward clears the zone. Miller played it to the right side. Gartner with a shot up high. Healy juggles it after making the chest save and comes out to cover the puck. This is the 16th playoff game between these two teams ever at the Nassau Coliseum. The Islanders have won 9 and lost 6. And they'd had a record of 10 and 5. 10 wins and 5 losses at the Garden until losing the first 2 games of this series.
See the numbers on Glenn Healy as he replaced Mark Fitzpatrick in Game 2. Allowed 1 goal and 14 shots. Thing to point out there was he came off the Islander bench, was not allowed a warm-up, and did a very good job. He had 3 outstanding saves just after he went into the net.
And the Rangers get the draw. Andy Moeller puts it back in the net. Healy leaving it there. This is Gary Nyland stepping from back of the goal to get away from Nichols. Comes into the center ice zone, but played the pass behind Alan Kerr. Kerr able to dump it back inside the Ranger territory. Moeller being watched by Trache as he put it back to the net. This is Rochefort. Hold on, Rochefort is checked. Job by Brad Lauer, and he comes up with the puck, only to be checked and turned, and Nichols comes down the left side, leading a 3-on-2 break. The pass across to Gartner missed. Mike Gartner lined up, taken into the boards by Nyland. That's a little payback from an earlier play in the first period. Long shot from the point by Ruff, just went wide of the net. Nyland, Millette stepping into him. Nyland able to clear the puck. Kerr is rubbed out on the boards. 10-4 physical. Bang, bang. The boys taking the body again. Gartner to the Islander line. Stripped of the puck, and Brian Trache comes up with it. Knocked away from him, but right to Gronstrand. Out to Lauer. Lauer gets across the Ranger line with Kerr. Lauer's shot blocked by Van Beesbrook. There's a delayed penalty call coming. It'll be against the Rangers. We have exactly 12 minutes to go. Period number 2. The score is tied 1-1 as we pause for a regional break.
A delayed penalty to the Rangers, and then the Islanders, Alan Kerr. He also incurs a penalty for roughing as he runs into John Van Beesbrook. Lindy Ruff talking with Terry Gregson, but the delay penalty was on Bernie Nichols for holding. The Islanders shot, a hard shot at John Van Beesbrook. They got a bit of a break, but Van Beesbrook has been doing well for the Rangers in goal. 19 shots on goal. The Islanders are out shooting the Rangers here in the second period, 7-2.
Now Sutter out with Volek and Flatley for the Islanders. The Kissio line there for the Rangers. Kissio with Mullen and O'Grady. Beesbrook went back of the net, gave the puck to Ruff, up to Brian Mullen. Mullen works it out into the center ice zone for Kissio. Left it in around Diddick, but Flatley drops back into play, stepping in front of O'Grodnik. He's given it to Sutter. Sutter plays it up the left wing. Flatley tips it on into the center ice zone, and here's Patrick. James Patrick backhands it in. Sutter takes it behind the net. Over to Gerald Diddick. Carrying it to the center ice stripe. He's dumped it on into the Rangers zone. That forced Van Beesbrook out of the net as volley came in quickly, and Van Beesbrook has played it off the glass and into the crowd. The referee immediately went to the glass, tapping it to indicate that it had deflected out of play. It's one of the differences between the Nassau Coliseum and Madison Square Garden. The glass is a consistent height all the way around the ice surface here at the Coliseum as compared to the Garden, where it's much higher on the end zones and then drops down just past the goal line, headed out toward the respective blue line.
Drops down quite a bit, about 4 feet to be exact, and that makes a difference. Goaltenders have to think about it. John Van Beesbroek has to be careful because at the point he likes to shoot the puck off the glass when he's trying to just unload it, get it away from the net. The glass is not nearly as high as it is in his home rink in Madison Square Garden.
Now McDonough, Wood, and Maloney line up for the face-off against Kissio. Kissio, Mullen, and Ogrodnik still the forward line for the New York Rangers. They win the draw, and it's Patrick stepping back of the net. James Patrick. Pass to Hardy. Wood knocks it away from him. McDonough charges it after it, but Patrick gets back quickly. Lost the puck. It's away from McDonough. Plays it around the boards to Ogrodnik. Crossman is right on him, and here's Maloney with a pass to McDonough. Trying to weave through some traffic. McDonough holds it smartly. Plays it in deeper to Maloney. Maloney turns on Kissio. Maloney gets away from the Ranger captain. He's given it to Wood for a shot. That changed direction. Deflection off the stick of McDonough and just wide of the net. Patrick. Wood stepped into Mullen with a good hit, but now Ogrodnik over the line with a shot. Juggled and again covered by Healy. He plays it on to Crossman's stick before the whistle sounds. 1-1 is the score. We're midway through the second period as the Islanders come to center ice with Nyland dumping it in. Schwartz slams it off the boards, in and out of Wood skates, and it's picked up and brought back by Turcotte. 3-on-3 at center ice. Turcotte across the line. Delayed penalty against the Islanders. Turcotte shot is a skate save and then covered by Healy. The Rangers will go to the power play. The score tied 1-1 as we pause for a regional break.
Richer picks off the pass, and he skates in on Darren Pupa. A lonely feeling. Richer gets his second goal of the playoffs. They're tied at 1. Back to the Nassau Coliseum.
Round. That's the shot. Stopped by Healy, but you can see his arm in the air signaling a delayed penalty to Randy Wood for high sticking behind the play at center ice.
Third Ranger power play of the game. Harold Diddick has one deflected off Gartner's stick and up into the seats. Diddick got on the near side of the defense. Norton on the opposite side. Sutter and Flatley the forwards. And the Ranger power play right now is lined with Wilson in the middle of Gartner and Millette. They used Turcotte and Patrick at the points.
Windshield wipers aren't working, so he's got to clean the windshield by hand.
I was surprised when I walked into the Islander dressing room tonight. Terry Murphy, one of the equipment men, training staff, was polishing helmets, scrubbing them clean. So they wanted them to look good on television. Of course,
Look good in uniform.
Pickens band. Right, shiny helmets. Brent Sutter trying to come up the boards. Got checked. Norton steps in front of Millette. Wilson backed up a little, and the puck off Wilson right to Diddick, and he shot it down the ice.
Not the only thing new, the nets that the goaltenders are guarding. At least the netting looks brand new, and the posts seem to be painted if the metal part isn't brand new. The sweaters the Islanders are wearing are brand new.
Always the case, isn't it? Tradition. Here's Maloney taking McDonough's pass and drops it back to Diddick as they continue to kill off this penalty to Randy Wood. Long shot handled by Van Beesbroek, and Turcotte tries to get away from McDonough. Finds some opening. Comes to center ice. He's given it to Kerry Wilson. He's taken out by Diddick's hip check. In quickly after the puck, however, is Gartner. Back to Wilson. Wilson on the edge of the circle. Moves in. Takes one. Holds it. Now plays it back to Muller. Up the slot with a shot that's deflected off Healy and into the corner. This is Wilson. He rounds the net, and there's a delayed penalty call coming. Maloney dumps it off the boards out into center ice. And referee Terry Gregson making the call here. Gerald Diddick upset. Millette not too happy with the situation either. And Gerald Diddick heads back toward the penalty box just as Nichols and Kerr are released. And again, for the second time of the game, the Islanders are 2 men short.
Bad penalty. Gerald Diddick takes it in his own end of the ice. A high sticking penalty on Troy Millette. Now, Millette likes to stir things up, make somebody mad, and he does Diddick. Diddick gets in, bang, look at the stick. He wraps it around his neck as he flung it at Troy Millette. Not a good play by the Islander defenseman, who had been very good each time the Islanders had been 2 men down. Now he's going to be in the box. Sutter will be out. Flatley will be out. They'll work with Doug Crossman, where if it was not Diddick in the box, it would be he out there, the trio, to kill off the 2-man disadvantage.
The gospel, according to the Islanders for the playoffs, don't take bad penalties. Stay out of the box. Don't do some of the things that we did during the 7 games of the regular season when the Rangers picked them apart with a man advantage. And they've done it again. In the regular season, the Rangers scored 9 times on 39 power play chances. The Islanders had only 3 power play goals on 22 chances against the Rangers, with a difference of 17 in the man advantage area. And here they are right back at it again. A 1-1 tie as the Rangers get the draw. Patrick, after taking Turcotte's pass, fakes, gives it to Turcotte, and he shot one off the skate and up into the seats.
Wow, look at Patrick. He's still standing as the camera moves out. He was standing in the best place there. Now talking with Turcotte. There's James Patrick. He was in the best place you could ever be to score a goal. Directly in front of the net at the top of the face-off circles, and he had 4 players all moving to the net. He opted to pass it on.
Now they line up for the face-off to the left of Healy. Brent Sutter and Patrick Flatley are the forwards. Rossman, the lone defenseman. Kelly Kissio steps in to take the draw. Mullen is to his left. Ogrodnik over on the right. Kissio got checked, but the puck came back to Turcotte covering the point. Now to James Patrick. Patrick moves in. Things open up. He shoots. He scores!
Somebody must have said, Turcotte probably said to him, when you're in that position, let it go. If nothing else, the goaltender has to make a save, and from that range, he probably can't give off a rebound. You'll notice that Patrick shot to the stick side high. That means the goaltender, Healy, can't catch it. He either has to block it in front and give a rebound, or if he's lucky, deflect it to the corner. He missed it, and the Rangers have a 2-1 lead, a power play goal by James Patrick. Turcotte shovels it over. Patrick, the Islanders have to move up. There are only 3 of them, and then he just inside the goalpost with a hard shot. Patrick has given the Rangers the lead for the first time.
His second goal in the playoffs, both via the power play. And here's McDonough moving in for the Islanders. There's still a man short. Diddick serving the balance of his high sticking penalty. The goal came with a 2-man advantage, and now the Rangers are offside at the Islander blue line. As always in this building, when the 2 teams meet, a large segment of Ranger supporters, and we've heard from them. They salute James Patrick with his goal in 11-19.
Am I being caustic to say that they generally heard from stronger when the Rangers get the lead?
No, that's honesty. Caustic as it may be, but it is honest.
I was talking with James Patrick prior to the hockey game, and he was vociferating about the fact that he felt so bad about Pat LaFontaine. He likes Pat LaFontaine. Said, I probably the worst moment was when they put the collar on him, and he thought that something very serious had happened to LaFontaine. In retrospect, talking to LaFontaine this morning, he felt bad for James Patrick. He tried to jump around him, as we had talked about on the first game. He tried to jump around him. He took a chance. He tried to go to the net. Thoroughbreds do that. Players like Pat LaFontaine do that kind of thing. And he tried it. It didn't work.
And I think to a man, the Rangers were shook. I saw LaFontaine down on the ice along, and then, as you say, the collar and the stretcher. I went to the Garden on Saturday. The first player I talked to was Bernie Nichols. He wanted to know immediately how Patty was, and please say hello and tell him how bad he felt about the whole situation. We watch Kissio moving in. Drops it back to Turcotte. And Turcotte to Kelly Kissio. Kissio comes off the boards. Feeds Turcotte at the blue line. Up the slot for the shot. Healy the save. The rebound is batted right back, and Healy has trapped it at the goal line.
Jeff Norton doesn't know which way to go. He can't go for the puck. He's afraid to do it at that point. If he reaches out and tries to tap it away, he could errantly put it in his net. There's the puck loose. Watch Norton here as he reaches in with his stick. Then he decides to change his mind. He sees Healy reaching for it. He does not want to make that kind of a mistake. Knocking it into his own net. I've done that. It's a lousy feeling. I put one by Chico Resch one night, right between his pads.
How many times did you do it in your career?
Well, just the once. Just the once. There's the puck loose. It squirts out. Healy reaches out just as he sees it and grabs a hold of it.
That'd be the worst feeling in the world, and I'm really amazed over the season. You see the number of opportunities that develop for players to put it in their own net. But it doesn't happen more often.
Obviously, it'll go off a lot of players, defensemen particularly, because they're always close to the net, or should be. It'll go off their legs and skates. But to take it on the stick and just blast it and put it in.
There's a drive. Bowler shot. Ended up going high and wide on a deflection. Bernie Nichols sets up. Nichols shot one off Crossman. Nichols with it again. Nichols shoots. Pad save. No, it gets by. And it's 3-1 Rangers.
20 seconds remaining in the second penalty. The one to Gerald Diddick. Nichols, you could see him lining it up. He was sighting the rifle. He took his time, and then he used the defenseman as a screen, and you know that he was aiming it. He is that good. Bernie Nichols lined it up. Watch Nichols now in front of Crossman. He's lining it up, lining it up. He's still looking. He never looks down, and then he wheels it between the pads. Look how much room he had. Healy got a piece of it, but he couldn't get enough to keep it out of the net. The Rangers have a 3-1 lead. Here's Nichols from another angle. There's the shot. A beauty. Healy knew he had a piece of it. He looked back, tried to reach for it, and couldn't. It's a 3-1 Ranger lead. Bernie Nichols has scored his third goal of the playoffs.
2 of the 3 coming with the man advantage. The Islanders pay the price. Back-to-back penalties to Wood and Diddick. The Rangers score with a 2-man advantage. That was Patrick's goal, and then with Diddick sitting out the balance of his penalty, Nichols has made it a 3-1 New York Ranger lead over the New York Islanders. Now the Rangers felt they needed a goal scorer, wanted a sniper of the caliber of Nichols. They traded Sandstrom and Granato to the Los Angeles Kings, and you know about Granato and Sandstrom, their contributions in last night's win as LA defeated the Calgary Flames and have taken a 2-1 lead in that best-of-7 series. It resumes tomorrow night at the Great Western Forum. All the action on SportsChannel, of course. Lauer is over the Ranger line with a shot. Van Beesbrook to stop. Lauer the rebound, and Van Beesbrook blocked that, and now he gets a second chance and blocks the close-in drive right in the goal mouth as Alan Kerr was there. The Islanders come storming back, but it's a 3-1 Ranger lead. You're watching New York Islanders playoff hockey on SportsChannel.
The Capitals come back, and who else but Dino Ciccarelli deflects the puck, and is able to pick it up and flip it over Chris Terreri. Ciccarelli with 6 playoff goals. Back to the Nassau Coliseum.
After the Rangers make it 3-1, the Islanders came back quickly. Brad Lauer with a hard shot. Van Beesbrook makes the save, and right behind it, another shot by Kerr, and another stop by Van Beesbrook.
The Rangers with a 3-1 lead, using the power play back-to-back here. Ratley with a shot that was deflected in front of Van Beesbrook. James Patrick gets it to the line where it's held in by Gronstrand. He's worked it to the corner for David Volek. Volek to Sutter. Makes it back to the net. Gets double-teamed at that point as Bernie Nichols and Patrick stepped in. James Patrick shoots one off Gronstrand. Millette moves up for the puck. It's over the Islander line. Corey Millette with Volek right on him. Volek pulls Millette away. Nichols drops it back to Millette. Spins one just wide of Glenn Healy. Nyland steps into Nichols. Turned the puck over. Gartner is tied up by Flatley, and the Islanders able to move it to left wing for David Volek. Volek steps over center ice across the Ranger line. Volek holds it, then shoots it. It's a glove save by Van Beesbrook. He's been hearing it from the Ranger crowd while we're away. The Beezer chant that is commonplace at Madison Square Garden has been set up here. 5.5 minutes left in the second period.
They were chanting that in the warm-ups as he led the Rangers out onto the ice. The Rangers supporters down at that end where they warmed up. Beezer, Beezer. Visa, wasn't it? Visa. We were getting a kick out of the way they pronounced it, but John Van Beesbroek, he's only 1 win and 8 losses in his last 9 playoff games. So he was probably not too thrilled with his past performance chart looking at the numbers. Lost his last 4 straight.
Roger Nielsen, the Ranger coach. I'm sure the staff involved in making the decision to start Van Beesbroek after Richter had played so well in the first 2 games, and Van Beesbroek, you know you're going to need both goaltenders if you're going to go anywhere in the Stanley Cup playoffs these days, and Van Beesbroek got the call tonight and has responded. The Islanders have had 24 shots, and only Brent Sutter's power play goal to open the game tonight got by. Islander down on the deck, and
he's hurting too, Jake. You see him signaling for the trainer. He's trying to get up.
Oh, that's Jeff Norton.
Norton's having trouble trying to get to his feet. King had run into him. As Norton, now he goes down again. He's almost, by the way it looks, almost on his feet. Mark Aldrich attending to him, talking to him, trying to find out what it is. He's reaching around his mouth as if he was hit. King here comes down on him. They get their arms up. He goes back. Bang. He hits his head on the boards, but it's his right hand. It looked like he hurt his hand for a moment as he lost his glove.
3-1, the Rangers lead. We'll be back in just a moment.
Shoulder that they're looking at now, when they hold the arm that way, they twist it back to find out. There, you see the pain there starting to show on his face. It was his shoulder as he twisted and turned and fell after Chris King had run Jeff Norton. It's a power play now for the Islanders. Time to take advantage of something if the Islanders want to get going here. They're down by 2. Just about 5 minutes remaining in the second period.
This is their 3rd power play chance of the night. Finley has dumped the puck in. It comes back to Volek. Pulls it off the left wing boards and sets up Jeff Finley. Long shot is tipped. Van Beesbroek down and stopped it. The rebound is there. Nobody able to shoot it. What a scramble in front of the net. And Sutter nudges it back. There is nobody covering the right point. It's everybody. It moved in deep. David Volek back into his own end of the ice. The pass to Crossman. And to turn back as Jansen's moved up. Crossman fed it to Sutter. He tried to go cross ice and that hit Erickson. Flatley puts it in the Ranger zone, only to have Randy Moeller shoot it the length of the ice. 1 minute, 10 seconds remaining in the penalty time against Chris King. Moving up with the puck is Crossman. Pass to Volek. David Volek rattles it around the boards. Here's Crossman, and nobody in the slot to give it to. He feeds it to Volek. Volek looks towards Sutter, who's back in on Van Beesbroek. He gives it to Dilly, to Volek. In deeper to Crossman. Back to David Volek to set up a screen, and the shot is deflected off Van Beesbroek. Patrick Flatley trying to get it to Crossman. To Flatley, gets checked at the Ranger line and took the feet out from under Kissio. Kissio stripped of the puck as Sutter caught up to him. Here's Doug Crossman. Kissio right on him. 30 seconds to go in this man advantage for the Islanders. They have 1 power play goal in the 3 games thus far, and Sutter handling the puck, trying to get through traffic. Moved it on to David Volek. Back it goes. Norton was out there. Fed it to Diddick, and his shot went off Mullen. Diddick get after it again. Harold Diddick got checked. Volek handles it here on the right wing boards. Comes all the way back to the point. Holds it, trying to get away from Mullen. Does. Slips it in deep, but James Patrick intercepted the pass and has slapped it to the line where it hit Norton. He's forced to bring it outside the line, and that kills off the penalty. 2 shots with the man advantage. And they're back over the line again. Brent Sutter spins one in front. That's turned aside by Van Beesbroek. Sutter gets another chance. Van Beesbroek to stop on that sharp angle drive. Ernie Nichols takes a hit from Derek King as he failed to clear the zone. Nyland holds it in with a pass off the boards for Sutter. Sutter trying to hit Wood in the slot. Missed him, and it goes all the way back into the Islander zone. Healy turns it up ice for Norton. Norton's pass to Trottier. Trying to get around Nichols. Got checked. Janssens has cleared the zone, or make it Rochford, rather, clearing the zone, sending the Islanders back. Just under 3 minutes remaining in the second period. It was 1-1 at the end of the first period. Back-to-back power play goals, and the Rangers lead 3-1. And Trottier has the feet knocked out of him from beneath him and is taken into the boards, and the play is called at the Ranger blue line. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel.
On top of him was Mike Gardner, and they landed into Gauthier. He had his leg pinned up against the boards. He was momentarily disabled, but seems to be all right. Islanders are going to have to trade in the pop guns. They're going to have to go for some heavier artillery. They need a rifle, not a bazooka yet, or 44 millimeter or anything like that, but they've got to get some goals. Power play worked early at 1:51, but hasn't worked since.
Now they're backed into their own end of the ice here and are able to clear the puck out. Andy Mueller puts it back to the blue line. This is Gary Nyland. Ari Gronstrand, former Ranger defenseman, turned it over to Millette. Dumped it in, and back comes Derek King. King stick handling through the center ice area. Nichols got to him as he fed it on to Trottier. Trottier pulls up and then shot it off Gardner, and he came out across the line and back in on an offside play. Little less than 2 minutes remaining now in period number 2. Bernie Nichols will be joining Stan Fischler on our second intermission tonight here at the Nassau Coliseum. It was Nichols' third goal of the playoffs. Move the Rangers ahead by a score of 3-1.
Early in the second period, the Islanders were cooking. They had things rolling. Randy Wood put one off the goal post to the right of Van Beesbroek. And then Gerald Diddick on a power play put one off the goal post to the left of Van Beesbroek. But recognized by the coaching staff of the New York Rangers, Roger Nielsen in particular, as just close calls.
Nothing more than that. Ring the chimes. One of the goaltender's equipment. All the cliches come to the fore as Ruff dumps one in. Back for it is Jeff Norton. And Norton gets hit. McDonough with the puck, and he can't clear the zone. The Rangers in deep now. Here's Chris King trying to put it out in front. Norton right on him. King took a dive. We welcome our SportsChannel New England audience. Here at the Nassau Coliseum, the New York Rangers have scored 2 power play goals in the second period and are leading 3-1. And Jits McDonald with Ed Westfall as we watch Alan Kerr start out. The pass to Hubie McDonough. Trying to get Maloney open on the left side, but James Patrick stepped up to block the pass, and it's Darren Turcotte shooting it down the ice. Norton back with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in the second period. The Rangers trying to take a 3-0 lead in this best-of-7 series. Chris Nyland just played the puck at the blue line, and McDonough's able to get it to Maloney, to Alan Kerr. He's checked at the Ranger blue line, but the play was offside to begin with, and now less than 1 minute remains in the second period.
Islanders and Alan Kerr out shooting the Rangers 28-21 through almost 2 periods. Kerr had his best opportunity about halfway through the period on a rebound off Van Beesbroek when Lauer let go, but couldn't shake it by. Van Beesbroek has looked sharp in the hockey game. Big plus for the Rangers to be able to put the backup goaltender, in this case Van Beesbroek. I would not have been surprised if he started. As a matter of fact, I thought that he would start the series having the most experience. Then when you think about it, if they run into trouble with their most experienced goaltender in the first game or two, then Mike Richter would be in a much tougher situation. Richter, a 24-year-old, he has played very well for the Rangers. Sean, I guess in the one game he played last year, he played fairly well, but during the regular season, when they brought him up for the second time, he played extremely well. It's well enough to be kept. That put Bob Prose as the forgotten man.
Prose, who played 15 games, still very much a part of this team. Actually, in an assistant coaching role, it appears. He comes in with Wayne Cashman, Ron Smith, looks like part of the coaches. Here's Bollock moving in, checked from behind by Moeller. The puck went to Van Beesbroek, who covered it, and then Brent Sutter was knocked down. Ensuing scuffle here. The Islander defense combination stays high to make sure they get the face-off deep in the Ranger end.
Rochford takes Sutter to the ice. Sutter upset about it. Van Beesbroek controls the puck. Flatley in the center ice area. Boom, a cross-check. He got away with one there. He kept it down. That's the reason. Had he raised it any higher than it was, up around his shoulders. Here's David Bollock. He misfires on it. Van Beesbroek controls the puck. Rochford knocks Sutter to the ice. That hurts too. When you land parallel, it's usually your hip. That's where the hip pointers come from when you land on them like that. The other way is when you get nailed into the boards and that ridge on the top of the boards gets you. Doesn't hurt now, it hurts later. Bodies are all heated up, the intensity of the competition. Kelly Kissio, recognize it. Look at the blood on his neck, unless he cut himself shaving earlier.
Interesting talking about Van Beesbrook, and we think of the fact that these two teams haven't met in the playoffs since 1984. John Van Beesbrook played all of 1 minute in that series. And he's been the star in the Ranger nets for so long, it seems.
Yes, a first All-Star in 1986. Won the Vezina Trophy that year.
Now Brent Sutter on the draw here, trying to step in around Erickson. And Ron Greshner clears the zone for the New York Rangers. Dropping back into his own end of the ice is Jeff Norton. Norton and Crossman, Baumgartner, Sutter, and Flatley for the Islanders. Sutter dumps it in. Baumgartner is up as a forward here, goes charging it after it. And a piece of James Patrick took him into the boards, bumps him again, and here's Sutter feeding it in front. Baumgartner, a backhander, is just wide. Comes back to the point, and there's the horn, ending the period as Kissio and Crossman look at one another. And you see people separate in front of the net, and Baumgartner, who had a chance, is the first off the ice and down the runway toward the dressing room. Now the Rangers take a little time, headed back. Once the Islanders have cleared their players' bench area, the Rangers are released and go to the dressing room, having outscored the Islanders 2-0 on power play goals by Patrick and Nichols. And we're at the end of the second period. The score, the Rangers 3, the Islanders 1. Let's pause for a regional break.
They have tried for Washington, while Sean Burke and Chris Terreri have given it a shot for New Jersey. Which combination is trying tonight? Well, it is Mike Liute and Chris Terreri. First period scoreless hockey game. John Morris comes out of the corner. He finds Ken Danico all alone. The slapper trickles in. 1-0 Devils. Second period, Devils look to add to their lead, and it's on the power play. John Morris, slap shot deflected beautifully by Brendan Shanahan. 2-0 Devils, and they lead it now 2-1 at the end of the second period. Dino Cicerelli with a goal. At the Nassau Coliseum this evening, Rangers and Islanders. Second period, game tied at 1. Rangers on the power play. James Patrick with the blast beats Glenn Healy. 2-1 Rangers. Moments later, Rangers strike again. On the power play, Bernie Nichols slaps it by Healy right through the 5-hole, and the Rangers lead this one 3-1, and they lead it after 2 periods of play. Rangers lead the series 2-0. Well, Dennis Potvin, let's go back to the Washington Capitals and Dino Cicerelli. He is just a scoring machine and creates his own opportunities.
Well, Dave Malley of the Devils said, we've got to stop Dino. That's easier said than done. And one of the reasons is because he comes out of nowhere and he's always in motion. He's always in motion towards the net and the loose puck. There's no better example than right here. Terreri is not suspecting Dino, and here he also draws a penalty. He's a spark plug. He's built like a spark plug. He's short, he's strong, and he moves quickly. But more importantly, you don't see him coming, and when he's coming full speed at the net. He gets to the puck a lot quicker than defensemen do.
All right, Dino Cicerelli, the playoffs' leading scorer. He has 6 goals. Last night in the Campbell's Conference, we were treated to some of the best hockey of the season. 2 sudden death games, as well as 2 2-1 games. We take a look at last night's action. Chicago over Minnesota 2-1, and they win it. Greg Millen, though, with 31 saves for Chicago. St. Louis in overtime, they win it 6-5. Momesso, an overtime goal that wins it. Meanwhile, out in the Smythe division, what a game. Los Angeles over Calgary 2-1. Granado, a shorthanded goal in overtime. Winnipeg nips Edmonton 2-1. Dale Horachuk with the big goal there. Tomorrow night on Sports Channel America, Cameron Koffel coverage continues. St. Louis at Toronto, 7:30 Eastern Time. Blues lead the series 3-0. Chicago at Minnesota, the Blackhawks up 2-1 there. And at 10:30, the Kings play host to the Calgary Flames. Kings lead that series 2-1. Well, that wraps it up from our studios here in New York. Bob Papa along with Dennis Potvin. More great NHL action comes your way after this.
Greatness. Tonight, a prime example of just that on Discover Card's Great Moments in Hockey. Coffey spent 7 years as a member of the Edmonton Oilers, and in those 7 seasons, intimidating opposing defenses became a Coffey trademark. Using his amazing acceleration and timely touch around the net, Paul chiseled his way into the NHL record book. His greatest achievement may well have come in the 85-86 campaign, when he set out to break Bobby Orr's single-season record for goals by a defenseman. With that patented solo dash on April the 2nd, beating Wendell Young of the Vancouver Canucks, it was his 47th of the year, eclipsing a feat many felt unattainable. Paul Coffey, the focus of tonight's Great Moments in Hockey, presented by the Discover Card.
Lead Washington by a 2-1 score. Here's Gary Thorne and Peter McNabb.
I want to welcome those of you on Sports Channel America watching the Islander-Ranger game. Gary Thorne, Peter McNabb, you're looking at Chris Terreri, the Devils goaltender. The Devils are leading 2-1. We're just 54 seconds into the third period of this game. Kenny Danico and Brendan Shanahan, the goals for the Devils. They led it 2-0. Midway through the second, Dino Ciccarelli, a power play goal at the end of the second to make it 2-1.
Yeah, I think the most interesting statistic in tonight's game, the Capitals 15 shots on goal after 2 periods, the Devils 6 shots on goal, and yet they're ahead 2-1.
It has been a tough checking, well-played game. Not as violently physical as
statistic in tonight's game, the Capitals 15 shots on goal after 2 periods, the Devils 6 shots on goal, and yet they're ahead 2-1.
It has been a tough checking, well-played game. Not as violently physical as we had hoped it would not be. It hasn't been. They've been able to hold off on that stuff despite all the talk and stories before the game. Held in, John Morris. Morris dropped it back for Shanahan. Shanahan's got a man in front. John McLean bats at it. Liut's got it in the pads and then in the glove. John McLean and Michael Pavonka at first, then Langway stepped in between the two.
And those are the areas that give coaches gray hair. You have the puck, you don't get it out of the zone, that quick turnover, and you see 2 players going at Stevens. Now, somebody didn't read their defensive responsibility, because you do not leave. You see more, you see 2 players going after the puck, Ridley and Langway. Someone obviously should have stayed with McLean, but the puck was bouncing enough, and Pavonka came in from the point to help out.
Mike Liut making the save. Liut appearing in his 59th career playoff game. 26 and 27 is his record in the playoffs. Shot by Driver, saved by Liut, fell over backwards, but nobody was there for the Devils to smoke the rebound. Pavonka breaks, Driver steps in, takes it away. Muller's got a hole. Muller in the middle, winds up, shot on Liut, save made. Mike Liut. Patrick Sundstrom tried to run it in. Stasny had to take it away. Pavonka. Weinrich drops it off for Muller. And we come out a flying here in the third. Pass intercepted at center by Ridley. Ridley's playing regular shifts now. Worked on the penalty killing and power play unit. He's got the bad shoulder and ribs that are bruised. Hatcher comes around with it. In fact, there are some stories it's more than a bruise. He, in fact, may have a couple of cracked ribs that he's playing with, but the Caps don't want to tell anybody officially.
Devils lead Washington 2-1 in period 3. We'll keep you posted. We now pause for a regional break. Center in Landover, Maryland. Here's Gary Thorne and Peter McNabb.
10, 15, 17 minutes of the game. Just throw things off.
Leach intercepted. Bill Grain poked it away. May got it again. Over to Berglund. Tipped away from him. Brown sends it in from center. Back to get it Sheehy. Sheehy and Langway working together. Up to Berglund. Devils change. Tim Berglund. Wide of the net. Alan May. Danico. A couple of big guys knew it was coming. Look at those shots. Patrick Sundstrom down, but Danico's got the puck. Stasny dropped it in the middle. Nobody there for the Devils. Tim Berglund clears it ahead for Alan May. May knocked down by Muller. Muller looked to see if Hogarth was going to call him for interference. He did not. He could have. Patrick Sundstrom ahead. Muller. Muller with Kelly Johansson on him. Muller turns it again. Patrick Sundstrom taken down and out of the play. Ridley took him out. Rouse gets the puck. Pavonka to Ciccarelli. Ciccarelli had a poke check by Driver to center. Sent back in. Caps have to clear the zone. They do. Weinrich. Eric Weinrich, the rookie, gets it up for Patrick Sundstrom. Sundstrom bothered by Ridley. In offside on the Devils. 2-1 Devils leading.
And Hartford has taken the lead. On home ice at the Hartford Civic Center, Dave Babich will come up with the goal for the Whalers. He's able to move in, puts the shot on net, and he moved, can't hold on, he just misplaces it, and Hartford leads it by a 3-2 score. Third period between the Rangers and Islanders for the Nassau Coliseum comes your way after this timeout on Sports Channel America.
Are brought to you by your Toyota dealer and Toyota's quality line of 1990 cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. By U.S. Sprint and its world of telecommunications. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste, so tap into the cold. And by the Discover card. It pays to discover, the card that pays you back.
Men 25 years of age and older, a second week has been added for their fantasy week. For information, call the Islanders at 516-794-4100. Bob Nystrom, some of the Islander players of today and some of the players of a few years ago, joining Bobby as instructors for the summer hockey camp at Candiac Park in Hicksville.
Now the team's back out on the ice. There's an update. The Devils have taken a 3-1 lead over the Washington Capitals, trying to get a 2-1 lead in games in that series. And here, Al Arbor has to figure out the puzzle known as the New York Rangers. His team down 3-1 as we get set for the second period, and the Islanders dump the puck in. Baumgartner, Fitzgerald, and Lauer went racing in after it. Rangers trying to play it out of the zone. Norton dumped it back in. Now it comes to the right wing boards, and Chris Nyland is checked by Tom Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, who had one of the goals in Saturday night's game at Madison Square Garden, called up from Springfield of the American Hockey League. Their team tied 1-1 with Cape Breton. They go back at it tomorrow night in Springfield. A couple of overtime games, both of them, to start that series. Diddick has dumped the puck in. Moeller gets hit hard by Baumgartner. Finishing the check, it's called. The fans react to that as Flatley steals the puck from Erickson. Henrik Flatley centers. Sutter shoots. Van Beesbroek makes the save.
What a stop by John Van Beesbroek. He had to go a little bit guessing. He had to put himself in the right position in anticipation, and he did it just right. A pass from the corner. Sutter deflected it toward the net. You could see Van Beesbroek. His style is to be down a little early, use his two hands for the high portion of the net if the shot is up there, but the deflection by Sutter was low. Van Beesbroek took it off the pads. Baumgartner started things rolling early in the third period, as you had pointed out, finishing the checks, this one on Randy Moeller, and that gave the Islanders a scoring opportunity as the loose puck was picked up to the left of Van Beesbroek, fed to the front of the net, and Sutter's shot taken by the goaltender.
Correction on that score that we showed you a moment ago. The Devils have not scored to make it 3-1. It is still 2-1. New Jersey leading. Playing at the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland tonight. Nice pass by Flatley to find Brent Sutter. Now Sutter moves the puck in through center. Flatley has it. He steps over the Ranger blue line, cutting the right wing. Flatley trying to put it back in front of the net. Net got blocked. Sutter can't pick it off behind the goal. Moeller making the pass to Gartner. Played it through center ice. Here's Millette. Boston stepped in front of him, and Millette shot the puck wide. Flatley plays it around Gartner. Up to David Pollock. Pollock turned it over at the blue line, but it came right back to him. Now he plays one behind Sutter to Flatley. They backhanding it into the Ranger zone. Pollock in after it, pushing at Kreshner. Then takes a hit from Troy Millette. Nichols trying to clear it out. Then he was knocked down by Trottier, and Gronstrand handles the puck in the center ice area. Gary Gronstrand trying to dump one in. Nichols up with it. Gronstrand drops back. Here's Nichols with a shot high and rising. Comes off the glass and recovered by Wood. To Trottier, and he couldn't get it on his stick. Rangers trying to move it through center ice. Nichols does. Back goes Jeff Norton, taking the puck from Glenn Healy. Jay rounds the net, starts out on the right side as Norton looks toward him and gives him the puck. Four Rangers back, forcing the Islanders to dump it in. It comes out in front. Van Beesbroek plays it to the right wing boards. The Islanders get it to Norton for a shot that's high. Jay wrestling with it over in the far corner, trying to center one. Van Beesbroek grabs it and holds on. It was going outside the net. He has smothered it. Again, I remind you, we misled you, thinking that the Caps had fallen behind by 2. It is in reality the Devils 2, the Washington Capitals 1. They're in the third period. The series tied at a game each.
Just 2 minutes into the third period now, I believe. Here, the Islanders have taken over the play. They did that at the beginning of the second period, Jiggs. They took over the play early on. That's when Randy Wood, we showed that as a highlight, hit the goal post. And then on the power play, Diddick also hit the goal post. But Then slowly the Rangers. With the Islanders taking bad penalties, the Rangers recaptured the territorial edge and kept it.
Pache won the draw, but a smart play as Ogrodnik stepped up and regained control of the puck and has forced the Islanders back. Finley to Wood, trying to move it up the right side. He's played it around Kissio. Pache feeds it to Randy Wood. Across the Ranger line. Again, 3 of them back. Now 4 as Kissio knocked it away from Wood. And a shot down into the Islanders zone. It's wide of Healy, so we'll get an icing call as Jeff Finley goes back to the puck. Still 17 minutes left in the third period. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel. There's a look at Darren Turcotte. What a season he had, especially in regular season games against the Islanders. And I guess a lot of teams can say that. He was on some pace when these two teams met. Bernie Nichols played 2 games against the Islanders in the regular season, had 2 goals, and he's a goal-a-game average in the playoffs.
Valuable part of the Rangers organization, plays on the power play at the point position. Played all 3 forward positions during the year. Penalty killer. He had 28 goals in his first 65 hockey games.
Rangers were improved by 4 points. 3 points. They were 9th in the overall standings at the end of this past season as they were the year before, and they finished with 82, and this year with 85. The lowest number of total points to have ever won a Patrick Division crown. Be that as it may, they finished first. Home ice advantage. They have a 3-1 lead over the New York Islanders. And here's Maloney putting it back in the zone. An intentional offside being signaled by linesman Bob Hodges. So they'll bring it back into the Islanders zone for the ensuing faceoff.
73rd year of the National Hockey League. Of course, the Islander-Ranger rivalry started back in 1972. And in regular season games, they are 53, 53, and 9. Dead even. When you think back in the early 70s, the Rangers built up quite a lead in regular season games, but in the late 70s and early 60s, or late 70s, early 80s, the Islanders got even.
In playoff games, the Islanders with 19 wins to the Rangers 12. That shot blocked by Healy, looked around and wasn't anywhere to be found. The Islanders had cleared it to center ice. Turcotte can't shoot it back in. Banks went off the boards, and it's picked up at the blue line by Nyland. Played it away from Kerry Wilson. Don Maloney has it at center ice. Shot went off the linesman. They're in after it. There's Rochefort. Rochefort going back in the net, turned the puck over. McDonough beating Maloney, who steps out of the corner now, and a penalty call. Jimmy McDonough is headed for the penalty box. Rangers go to the power play, leading the Islanders 3-1. You're watching New York Islanders playoff hockey on Sports Channel.
Rangers get another one here, another power play there. Alan Kerr, an interference penalty. The 5th power play of the hockey game coming to the Rangers. They have 2 power play goals, both coming in the second period. Patrick with his second, all on the power play. Bernie Nichols got his 3rd goal of the playoffs.
Only the 3rd minor penalty in the series against Alan Kerr. He has stirred things up, and now the Rangers with the man advantage can't control the puck in the Islanders zone. Brent Sutter shooting at the length of the ice. Just over 16 minutes remaining in the 3rd period. Rangers trying to build a 3-0 lead in games. The St. Louis Blues have done that over the Toronto Maple Leafs. They play again tomorrow night in Toronto. You catch that action on Sports Channel. James Patrick sets it up. There's Turcotte feeding it in deeper to Bernie Nichols. Patience of Nichols trying to set up the play. Passes it back to Patrick. Point for Turcotte. Into Nichols. Feed it up and then shot it off Diddick, and that goes out of play. 1 minute, 11 seconds left in this Ranger power play as the scramble is on for a souvenir, and Nichols talks to Flatley. Boy, Bernie talks to everybody, doesn't he?
Sure. He has some humor. Sometimes he's very serious. But as he talked to Stan Fischler, the lighter side. He likes to look at hockey from the lighter side.
I thought he probably would end up moving somewhere between Belmont and Aqueduct. I think he'll end up between the 2 racetracks rather than the golf courses, 18.
Well, if he's looking for any help, Gerard McKeon excuse me. Gerard McKeon, the president of the New York Racing Association, is here at the hockey game. He might be able to help him out.
Oh, just the barn, Bertie. No, just the barn. Nichols on the draw here with Sutter. The Rangers get control of it. Wilson shot one off Norton, and Brent Sutter recovers, clearing it off the boards and down the ice.
I guess what you're saying is he handicaps well at two sports, racing and golf.
Good afternoon with him at Santa Anita last year during the Cup playoff. No slouch at the windows.
Beautiful racetrack, Santa Anita.
Ever.
Got to see that many times with my old teammate Jerry Chivas. He's actually the public relations director now for Rockingham Park in New Hampshire.
Part of our Sports Channel family over there at Sports Channel New England. Rick Peckham handling action. We watch Wilson try to set things up deep in the Islanders zone. It comes back to the blue line to Turcotte. Giving it to Wilson, to Turcotte. Leads it to the far side. Muller finds Wilson. He shoots just wide on the glove side and rolls onto the mesh and is dug loose. Nichols trying to get it to a teammate. Here's Wilson. Back to Turcotte. Into the slot. And the shot deflected wide. Comes out to Nichols. Turned on Wood. Feeds it across. Terry Wilson with a shot that misses. Nichols after the rebound. And he played it away from Muller, who's gone to the far side. And the power play is over. One shot on goal for the Rangers. Several at the net that missed. And that was the story of game one. Won that one 2-1. Now the Islanders down by a 3-1 score. Trying to move in. Terry Nyland got a piece of Terry Wilson, but the Rangers dumped the puck to center ice, and backboard is Gerald Dinnick. Mullen right on him. Here's Fitzgerald overskating it. Mullen gets it teed up and put it between the feet of Kelly Kessio. Miller holding it in, but Dinnick takes it off the boards. Got it to the line. Mullen drops it back in deeper. Finds its way to Volek here on the left side. Volek poking the puck. Now picks it up. Puts it on Lauer's stick. He's over the line with Fitzgerald, and Lauer's shot is deflected off Rochefort and way up into the seats. With the score tied, with the Rangers leading 3-1. Let's pause for a regional break.
Let's go Rangers. He's out of the lineup. Well, he was never in the lineup, but I'm sure he'd love to be. I'd have really had to choke, wouldn't I? But that turned out to be a young lady instead of a guy.
Would have had you.
Cameraman got me good.
Nyland and Baumgartner side by side here. The sticks waving back and forth. Baumgartner jabbing at Nyland's skates, and the puck laid out into center ice as Gronstrand had Eriksson moving up on him. Norton comes back, giving it to Baumgartner. Dumps one through center and on into the Ranger zone. This is Ron Greshner. Down the boards, Gronstrand pinching in, but ends up deep in the Islanders zone. No icing. Norton with it back to the net. These same two teams Wednesday night here at the Nassau Coliseum. Islanders be looking to get even in the series, only if they can come back from a 2-goal deficit, and they're offside, trying to get into the Ranger territory, and some dispute here by a crowd of over 16,000. There is no dispute today that this man is probably a third of the age of our floor director, John McComb. Mr. McComb, April baby, celebrating his birthday today, both at Shea Stadium this afternoon for the Mets game, and on hand here tonight. There's reason to believe that he is fast approaching 70. Although a check with Social Security will not confirm nor deny at this point. But happy birthday, John.
Was that 70 approximation delivered by Mr. Thorne?
No, that came from some of the young ladies. And he blushes again.
Well, he should. Man worked all day at a ball game, comes out here and works all night at a hockey game. He either loves sports or he loves money. He sure can't spend any.
Protecting a 3-1 lead, just over 13, a little under 13 minutes now remaining in the third period. Here's Sutter taking Flatley's pass, and he has shot one off James Patrick and up into the seats.
As usual, we like to recognize the off-ice officials in the hockey game. They're from the New Jersey Devils. Supervisor is Dick Trimble. Ed Holm is the scorer. Bill Horn is the game timekeeper. Penalty timekeeper is Jim Festa. The goal judges, Al Berinsky and Paul McGinnis, all from the New Jersey Devils.
That's the story throughout the playoffs, of course. Off-ice officials are from neutral arena. In this case, as Eddie pointed out, the Meadowlands. Folks from Hartford worked the games at Madison Square Garden, games 1 and 2.
Yes, and the Islanders off-ice officials were up in Boston.
A couple of very good hockey games there, they report. Mark Hardy handling the puck back of the New York Ranger goal. He and Patrick, the defense combination.
You better move it or he's going to get a call for delaying the game.
He did get it out to center ice, and Nyland has fed it to Erickson on right wing. He runs into Gary Nyland. Nyland flying, and Erickson. Jansen trying to tie up his man. Tommy Fitzgerald gets the puck away from him. Was met by Erickson, but put it right on Wood's stick. Andy Wood brings it into center ice. Had the stick knocked out of his hands. And passes the puck toward the Ranger line. Now James Patrick lays it down the right side. Gary Nyland handling it. To Doug Crossman. The Rangers in the middle of the player change as Nyland has a little time and is able to come out of the left wing corner with a pass to Derek King. King over the Ranger line. Gave it to Fitzgerald. He shoots and off the heel of his stick. Rochefort blocked it, then cleared the puck to center ice. It's brought right back by Finley. Finley through some traffic. Gets it teed up. Shoots Fitzpatrick. The goaltender, at least Van Beesbrook, makes the save. And there's no further play. Let's get an update on other playoff action. Back to the studios, and Bob Papa will tell us what's been happening.
In Hartford, after Dave Babbage and Pat Verbeek gave the Whalers a 4-2 lead, the Bruins will get one back. Randy Burridge in front deflects it in, and the Whalers lead cut to 4-3 in the third. Back to the Nassau Coliseum, Jiggs McDonald and Eddie Westfall.
All right, Bob, and we're looking at a replay. And Beesbrook covering the puck after making the save off Jeff Finley.
Good move by Finley to get himself into position to get a shot at Van Beesbrook, the Beezer, as the Ranger fans love to call him. Now, 26 years old, native of Detroit. Of course, Detroit, I believe strongly that the Detroit Red Wings tried all season long to pry Van Beesbrook away from the New York Rangers, but they were unsuccessful.
I've got to think that Detroit looked in a lot of different directions for goaltending help. Couldn't get one. They put 28 wins up. They're in the playoff hunt until the final week. Held 6 points behind the Minnesota North Stars. The point differential between the Islanders and the Rangers, the two teams meeting in the opening round, was 12. Rangers had 85 points. The Islanders finished up with 73, one better than Pittsburgh, two better than Philadelphia, capturing the fourth and final playoff spot. The Islanders, who had finished with the 20th best record in the league the season before, jumped up to 16th.
Yeah, Bill Draft in the 6th position.
Talking to a lot of scouts and other general managers, they feel, as we pointed out the other night, that there's really no difference this year's draft between drafting 5th or 6th, the first 2 or 3. Yeah, quality, but there it's just about even, I'm told. Diddick has held the puck in. He'll have it cleared right back out again. Lindy Ruff has dropped back to play defense tonight, was able to put it on Gartner's stick. He circles at the blue line, then fires the backhander that's grabbed and held by Glenn Healy. And a face-off in the Islanders zone with the score. The Rangers 3, the Islanders 1. Let's pause for a regional break. All set for a face-off. Ernie Nichols and Hubie McDonough. Nichols got the draw, and the shot from Greshner got through. Ends up being held there by Glenn Healy. We've had only 4 shots on goal now, and have played over 9 minutes of the third period.
Update Sports Channel's out-of-town scores. It's a 1-1 tie now in the third period. The series is tied at 1 apiece. The game is tied 1-1. Richer scored for Montreal. Housley had opened the scoring in the first period, making it 1-0. It's now in the third period.
Classic goaltending in that series on Saturday night. With a shutout, 1-1 in that game, as you just saw. You look at Nichols and Norton exchange a greeting, then skate away from one another. Ernie Nichols with Mike Gartner and Troy Millette. The Islanders, Hubie McDonough, along with Brad Lauer and Don Maloney. Alan Kerr had been on this line earlier tonight. Spot on right wing, normally occupied by Mick Vakota, but he is sitting out the second of a 10-game suspension. The result of the Donnybrook at the end of Game 1 of this series.
If you like to do numbers and you look at Nichols, you think that the 15 games prior to the trade, the Rangers were 3-8-4, and the 15 after, they were 9-4-2.
Did make a difference, although the numbers maybe not what everybody had expected. Defenseman Gerard Gauthier trying to get out of the way of the shot from Greshner. Out of the ice heavily, back into the play now. Watch Gartner turn and dump it in deep. Norton plays it up the right side. Lauer got checked. Here's Nichols putting it out in front. Millette is robbed by Healy, and the puck cleared back to the net. Roy Millette. Lauer gets to it first. And Lauer sends McDonough to the line, but Hubie without a stick. And the puck comes off the glass over on right wing. Here's Gartner with a shot. Healy the save, and Norton handles the rebound. The Rangers trying to finish it off here, but the puck goes out of play. They have nursed the 3-1 lead and now become aggressive again, trying to extend it.
Close in, close call. Glenn Healy gets his stick tied up in his feet, partially loses it as the Rangers close in. Nichols and Gartner getting some opportunities. Gartner beat Norton here along the boards. Millette knocks the stick out of Hubie McDonough's hand. Come on, give me one. I'll take anyone. Well, this one, no, give me. That's a right. Give me a left. Finally, he gets one. Well, King's a left-hand shot. Take his. He said, "This is my favorite. I don't want to lose it."
Some little exchange there, trying to get a hockey stick. Nache losing the draw. Kissio sets up Patrick. His shot hit Derek King and bounces out into center ice. King back and escapes. Now one bounces off Nyland and is shot back in by Mullen, making the play offside.
Again here in the third period, as they did in the second, Jigs, the Islanders took the game to the Rangers. They had John Van Beesbrook dancing around in the net, making saves. And now, about halfway through the third period, it seems the Rangers are starting to flow. The tide is starting to move to the Islanders' end.
Well, they have prepped it up. It's interesting to see how they finish. Roger Nielsen back to the bench. What a coaching staff that the Rangers have. Let's have the Islanders. Rangers slumping after a good start. Downtime during the middle portion of the season. King and bounces out into center ice. King back and escapes. Now one bounces off Nyland and is shot back in by Mullen, making the play offside.
Again here in the third period, as they did in the second, Jigs, the Islanders took the game to the Rangers. They had John Van Beesbrook dancing around in the net, making saves. And now, about halfway through the third period, it seems the Rangers are starting to flow. The tide is starting to move to the Islanders' end.
Well, they have prepped it up. It's interesting to see how they finish. Roger Nielsen back to the bench. What a coaching staff that the Rangers have. Let's have the Islanders. Rangers slumping after a good start. Downtime during the middle portion of the season, then they revved it up again. And there was a little bit of concern when they went to the playoffs after dropping back-to-back games to the Washington Capitals.
Actually, they lost 3 straight games at the end of the season, but the coach, Roger Nielsen, said, "I'm not concerned. We'd locked up first place, and it wasn't important. What we do in the playoffs is most important." I think some of the Ranger players, Jigs, were maybe a little upset, a little disturbed that they didn't have a little more of a celebration for winning first place.
Well, there's time for that later on. Seemed to be the interpretation I was getting from some folks around the Rangers.
For the first place finish? Players thought they might have a little champagne, a little fun with after the Quebec game when they sewed it up.
Story says, the old adage, haven't won anything yet. They have a 3-1 lead in tonight's game and a 2-0 lead in the best-of-7 series, and they just played the puck down into the Islanders' zone. Brian Mullen in after it. Kissio to the front of the net. There's the pass off his skates, off Healy as well. Kissio never did recover. Now he and King get the sticks up a little, and referee Terry Gregson is right there on the spot.
Good move by Terry Gregson. Not often you see the referee get involved. They usually stand back and wait, but he didn't.
The Rangers with a 3-1 lead, and you're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel.
As the puck moves in, looking for and finding the left skate of Kissio. He cracked at the goaltender, and then wham, he gives a two-hander to Derek King, getting a penalty. Well, the Islanders now go to the power play. 1 for 3. They've had 5 shots. The first goal of the hockey game, Brent Sutter scored at 1:51. Gardner was in the penalty box for boarding.
Overall, in this playoff series, that's the only power play goal for the Islanders.
1 for 13 in the series so far.
Now they have the man advantage, but the Rangers got the draw. Norman Rochefort has dumped it down the ice. Flatley hanging around at the Ranger line. In fact, he's circling inside the blue line. Now comes back onside as Norton's pass went in off Volek. Rochefort just shoots it down the ice. This is Crossman over to Norton. Finds Volek waiting at the center ice stripe. David Volek to Brent Sutter. Sutter moving in on the left side. Took a look at Muller. Handles the puck here, trying to get things sorted out. Sutter, the edge of the circle, feeds the blue line for Norton. Now back to Sutter. Sutter to Flatley. Tips and he scores!
Pat Flatley was as surprised as anybody. He was standing on the goal line when the puck hit him. It looked as though Sutter was going to shoot it at the net. He kind of hard passed it to Flatley. It tipped off his stick, went along the goal line, hit the far goal post and trickled in. So the Islanders, desperately needing something to get going, get it. Flatley, 26. There's Sutter. He shoots it. There it is. Off the stick, off the skate, along the goal line, off the goal post, into the net. And the Islanders have a power play goal. Sutter to Flatley, off the stick, the skate, does a dance along the goal line, and it's 3-2. And this crowd, who have not had anything to cheer about since the first period, are up and making a lot of noise.
And there's the sign. There was so much presence. The final regular season game for the Islanders when they defeated Philadelphia and then waited for Buffalo to end up winning in overtime at Pittsburgh. Breathing, still believing. Volek trying to get across the blue line. Puck is back to Gerald Diddick with just under 8 minutes remaining. His hitting shot went in. Van Beesbrook able to clear it out to center ice away from Norton. Islander defenseman goes back to touch up. That's an icing call against the New York Rangers. 3-2 is the score now. Still 7 minutes and 45 seconds left in the third period. Flatley's first goal of this playoff round is 14th overall in his career. Sutter and Norton assisting at 11:47 in the third period.
Killing off a two-man disadvantage sometimes brings a team into another level of play. That happened to the Islanders once in this hockey game. A goal, such as the one they just scored, a power play goal, can also do it with the fans getting in behind them.
Did you realize that that is the first third period goal in this series? Granted, only 2 games prior to this, but neither team had scored a third period goal at Madison Square Garden. And now Flatley at 11:47 of the third period has brought the Islanders to within 1. This is Crossman trying to move out of the corner. Drops it back. Maurer with a shot that's blocked, and the puck bounces into center ice. Nyland going back for it. Gary Nyland got it off Gartner. It's picked up by Brad Lauer to Don Maloney. Gets it into the Ranger zone. James Patrick chases it behind the net. Maloney into forecheck, but Patrick is able to put it out into the center ice zone, forcing Gary Nyland to go back. A rolling puck to contend with. Here's the pass to Crossman. Crossman leads it up left wing. Lauer trying to sneak in around Greshner. Can't get to it. Lindy Ruff does. Then to Mike Gartner. Turned it over. Nyland at the left point. Nyland shoots one right on. Van Beesbrook the save. Big rebound. There's McDonough with a shot that's blocked by Greshner. Nichols slaps it off the board. Nyland unloads from the point. The rebound. They bat on him a couple of times and score! Here be McDonough! for the television camera and found it too. McDonough at 13:09, his first playoff goal.
Timeout has now been called by the New York Rangers as the Islanders back-to-back goals. Flatley on the power play. Hubie McDonough at even strength. And it's a 3-3 tie. 16,000 people. Well, maybe not 16. We'll give it about 13,000 people are on their feet still and cheering.
Roger Nielsen seeing his team give up back-to-back goals. A minute and 22 seconds apart. First Flatley at 11:47. Now McDonough 13:09. Assist. The only assist going to Gary Nyland. Look down the Ranger bench. Nobody said it would be easy. 2-1. The Rangers winning the first game. Second one a little easier with a 5-2 final score. They had a big second period thanks to the power plays on Saturday night. And the power play worked in the second period here when they took a 3-1 lead over the Islanders.
Wow, listen to this crowd. It wasn't quite this noisy when J.P. Parisi scored an overtime goal to give the Islanders their first ever playoff win against the Rangers.
The Islanders are back into the Ranger zone. Bauer dropped it for Norton. The shot went wide. Kerr got knocked down in front of the net. Harney was right on him, and the Rangers come up 2-on-2. Chris Nyland drops it into the corner. Erickson going in after it. Glenn Healy puts it in the opposite side of the ice. Bauer finds an opening, plays it through center, on into the Ranger zone. And this will be an icing call. Harney back to get it. Just over 6 minutes to play in the third period. The game is tied, 3-all. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on SportsChannel.
The finish by thought, J.P. Parisi, 15 years ago on this day. Whoa, what a stop.
Bowler unloaded from the blue line.
He got married. That's what I was trying to lead up to, but we've had so much going on.
And now the Rangers offside as they put the puck in. So with 6 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the third period, they'll face it off just outside the New York Islander blue line.
I was only kidding. It was 15 years ago on this date that J.P. Parisi actually did score an overtime goal 11 seconds into the third and deciding game in Madison Square Garden.
Are we headed for overtime tonight?
Could very well be. The way the numbers go up on the board here, generally they go slowly. But they have come in bunches here. The Rangers in the second period with power play goals back-to-back. Here in the third, the Islanders.
Collision there, Rochford and Wood, and the puck deflected over the boards and on into the Ranger players' bench. Face-off at the opposite blue line. Look at Ryan Mullen going back to the Ranger bench. Kissio line leaving, and now Kelly Kissio is headed down the ice toward the Ranger dressing room. And it appears to be an equipment problem only.
May have threw a shoe, as they say. If they strip the edges on their skates bad enough, they can't hand stone them on the bench. They have to take them and sharpen them.
Turcotte lost the draw to Brent Sutter, and Gronstrand at the Islander line works it over to Jeff Norton. To Yari Gronstrand. Gronstrand spotted Volek. The pass tipped. Sutter can't control it at center ice, and he bumped Wilson. And David Volek came hustling back. Volek, Flatley, and Sutter up front. Turcotte up with Wilson and King for the Rangers. This is Bowler. He's given it to Rochford and got it right back. Rochford handling it now. Leads one off the boards. Gronstrand moves up for the Islanders. Gets to the Ranger line and dumps it in. Got the play onside, but Bowler steps out of the right wing corner. Got checked. Flatley has it in his skates. Picks it up again on the boards and centers it back to Norton. Takes once. Trying to center it in a little deeper. Flatley gets knocked off the puck. It comes back to Norton. Right side, this is Vinnick shooting off the goalpost.
Both goalposts, Jake. What a rocket shot. He hit the goalpost to the left of Van Biesbroek. It went over, hit the one on the right, and came down the ice.
Play call back here on an icing with 4 minutes and 49 seconds left in regulation time. Nyland and Vinnick talking about it. Look at it again.
What a blast. There, Van Beesbrook goes guessing. He hits to his left. Now he looks over to the right because it hit the right goal post. He's expecting to see it in the net. It was not. It came all the way down the ice. What a laser gleam. What a blast by Diddick. Bang, bang.
Wow. It's not just ringing the chimes. That's a glockenspiel. McDonough on the draw. Nichols beat him. Carrying the puck is James Patrick. Dumps it in from center ice. Got away from Healy as he tried to trap it. Now McDonough comes back. Puts it behind the net. Millette in to forecheck for the Rangers. He's checked and turned by Crossman. And Lauer feeds it out to Don Maloney. Maloney dumps one in. McDonough goes racing it after it. Steps in front of Ruff and backhanded it wide. Up comes James Patrick, the Ranger defenseman, lugs it through center ice. He's given it to Millette. Shoots from the blue line. Glove save by Healy, and he'll hold it for a faceoff. 4 minutes, 15 seconds left in regulation time.
At the Cap Center at Landover, Maryland, closing seconds of the game, and the Capitals trailing the Devils by a 2-1 score. They send it in the zone, but Kenny Danico, who got the night's first goal, sends it out of the zone. The Devils beat Washington 2-1. They lead the series 2-1. Buffalo and Montreal tied at 1 in overtime.
Hard shot by James Patrick. That's after a double chimer. Gerald Diddick hit both goal posts with a very hard blast.
At Jansen's line. Jansen at center with Nyland on the left, Erickson on the right. Up against Trottier, King, and Wood. The defenseman, Jeff Norton, carrying the puck into center ice. Finds its way into the Rangers' zone, but it's offside. Moeller had to stick up a little on King. You see them separate and go in opposite directions. Face off outside the Ranger blue line. Now 4 minutes and 5 seconds left in the third period.
Pretty good tempo here in the third period. I suppose when you think of the tempo of hockey games, the fact that they have a night off now in between each one has to help. Final score, the New Jersey Devils. Shanahan getting the winning goal. 2-1. The Devils defeated the Washington Capitals. Talk about quality over quantity. They did it with only 10 shots on goal. Now that's not the third period, folks. That's the whole hockey game.
We'll have to go scrambling for the record book, but if that is not a record low number of shots in a Stanley Cup playoff game, it's got to be very close.
And win.
Yes, and win it. Man. The Devils have regained their home ice advantage. Taken away in the opening game of the series. Fitzgerald sends Kerr over the Ranger line. A shot, glove saved by Van Beesbrook. Lays it around the boards into the skates of Diddick. It's spun toward the net. A couple of Rangers collide. Jansen's went down. Handling the puck there was Erickson to Moeller. And Fitzgerald takes it away in the center ice zone. Left it in. Cleared right back out by Rochefort. Now Jeff Norton puts it across the line. Andy Moeller rounds the net. Turned it over to Alan Kerr. Came right back to Moeller. Moeller trying the opposite side of the ice. Kerr right on it. Moeller plays it off the boards, and at center ice it's gathered in by Crossman. The Islanders in the middle of a change as Norton steps over the line with a pass that was intended for Kerr, only to be broken up. Kissio sends Mullen to the line. Pad saved by Healy on that long shot. Harry King has cleared the zone. Norton got rubbed up, but Crossman is right there with a pass to Randy Wood. Wood chases it into the corner, colliding with James Patrick. Now Trottier steps into Patrick as Wood handles the puck. Trottier from back of the net, can't get out in front. Donald Grodnick steps out of the left wing corner. Over center, leading a 3-on-3 rush. O'Grodnick, a big shot, just went wide. Bouncing back along the boards, held in by Kissio to O'Grodnick. O'Grodnick is checked by Crossman. That's Nyland playing to the right side for King. King, Trottier, and Wood can't get over the center ice stripe together. Eli Kissio, the puck knocked away from him. Nyland works it back in towards center, but it was O'Grodnick. He's found Mullen coming in on the right side. Brian Mullen is checked, the puck goes loose. Gerald Diddick, back of the Islander goal. It's given it to Nyland. To Randy Wood, he's relayed it down into the Rangers zone. Just over 2 minutes to play in the third period. Van Beesbrook slaps it off the right wing boards. Norton has it again for the Islanders. Up to David Pollock. He gets checked. Norton is cross ice with a pass to Dinnick. To Brent Sutter, steps over the line, beats Volek on left wing, and his shot was blocked by Hardy. Volek with the rebound. Flatley gets knocked down as he put it on target. He's held there by Van Beesbrook. 1 minute and 48 seconds left in the third period. 3-3 is the score. You're watching New York Islander playoff hockey on Sports Channel.
Come on, sport.
We interrupt this vacation
Charge it.
to remind you the Discover card pays you cash back for every charge.
Yes, hockey, end-to-end action. Stops, saves, dives, commitments, sacrifices. All done by teams at both ends of the ice.
Now McDonough will take the draw deep in the Ranger zone. Jansen's lost the face-off. Here's Norton with it. Finds an opening, shoots, loose puck in front. There's Lauer, and he overskated. Now puts it out in front, and then that scramble and hit Jansen. Dinnick drops it in back of the net. It comes out in front. Controlled now by Nyland. Harry Nyland is checked by Don Maloney, and the Islanders are over the line again. Maloney has knocked off the puck. Andy Moeller got it over Ericsson's stick down into the Islanders zone. Norton goes back. Plays it off the boards. Eriksson dumps it in deep. I think Norton felt it was going to be an icing and just sort of nonchalanted it. Now it's cleared back into the center ice area. 75 seconds remaining in regulation time. Jansen cuts to the left side and dumps it deeper into the Islander territory. This is Flatley. Steps away from Eriksson, and out he comes. Patrick Flatley over center ice. Comes it in and takes a hit from Nichols. Hardy trying to move it up the boards. Less than a minute to go in the third period. Flatley and Sutter failed to trap it. Hardy overshot it. And Bernie Nichols puts it out in front of his own net, giving it to James Patrick. Up the right side they come. Stuffed down into the Islander zone by Gartner. Backboard is Crossman to Gary Nyland. We welcome our New England audience as the Rangers just barely missed on a long shot from the blue line. Brent Sutter comes down the right side with 30 seconds to go in regulation. 3-3 is the score at the Nassau Coliseum. James Patrick parks behind the net, now starts out with it. Played it away from David Pollock. Hardy gets to it in the far corner. Those of you who watch the Devils defeat the Washington Capitals, welcome to the Nassau Coliseum, where we're just moments away from going to overtime. The score tied 3-3, 8 seconds remaining in regulation. The Islanders back from a 3-1 deficit. Dump it down the ice right to Van Beesbrook. There'll be a 15-minute intermission and then sudden death overtime. Now the Rangers were coasting, protecting a 3-1 lead. In fact, we're on the attack. And then the Islanders are to get a power play goal. And a minute and 22 seconds later, they tied up. Another big goal by who else? Hubie McDonough, who did it regularly during the regular season. Third period goals to get the Islanders close or closer, tied or win. And tonight he's tied this playoff game at 3-3. And the majority of the crowd become Islander fans. At the end of regulation time, the score, the New York Islanders 3, the New York Rangers 3, as we pause for a regional break. You're watching Stanley Cup playoff action live on Sports Channel.
New York, the Islanders and Rangers tied at 3 going to overtime. Here's Jiggs McDonald and Eddie Westfall.
Well, Grodnick bounced off his skate right to Brent Sutter. He and Flatley over the line. Sutter with a shot that just missed the post on the far side. It's all the way down into the Islanders zone. Healy will leave it there for Norton. Norton and Dinnick on the point. Sutter up front with Lauer and Flatland. Now Bollig. Sutter went back to the net for it. Starts the play with a pass to Norton. David Bollig streaking down right wing. Puts his head down to sneak in around the check with Rochefort. Bollig comes back to the net, trying to make the play in front to Sutter, and he got double teamed. Ranger down on the deck. Kissio came up pushing at Bollig. And the puck slides harmlessly down into the Islander territory where Glenn Healy handles it. The pass to Dinnick. Now to Lauer. Untouched it to McDonough. Gets across the Ranger line. Trying to play it in deeper, but cannot. Rochefort spots Gartner moving down the wing, but the pass went off the boards behind him and is called back on a two-line pass and offside.
Some teams like to win it in a hurry. The Islanders with the best opportunity as Sutter's hard drive off the right wing side, inches wide of the net to the right of John Van Beesbrook. He would probably tell you that he had that part of the goalpost and everything covered.
There have been 5 playoff games between the Islanders and the Rangers that have gone to overtime. And the Islander record is 5 wins and no losses in overtime games. The Broadway Blue Shirts.
Last time the Islanders did have was against the New Jersey Devils back in 1988. Brent Sutter scored at 15:07, won the game 5-4.
Now Nyland back into his own zone to pick up the puck. He's given it to Crossman. Racing along the boards. It hit Nichols. McDonough takes it from Crossman and starts the play at the Islander line. The pass to Nyland. Back to Crossman. Crossman up to McDonough over the line with a feed for Don Maloney. Couldn't get it back on the stick. McDonough goes in after it. Maybe McDonough tried to turn it toward the corner. It hit Rochefort. Now hits McDonough. Ends up being pushed ahead to the blue line. Nyland trying to take the man. Gartner stepped away from him. He's over the line with Erickson. Gartner moving in deep. Is chased back to the net by Crossman. And tries a wrap around right across the goal mouth. This is James Patrick dumping it in deeper. Erickson takes it off the boards. Lost it. Gartner's shot is blocked, and it's Crossman now. Playing it high, but not out. Play, and the Islanders play it. McDonough had it in his skates after it came back to him. He's given it to Maloney. Plays it through the defense. In after it is Brad Lauer. Rounds the net. Tries to stuff in. Van Beesbrook down to make the stop. Lauer gets hammered by Nichols. The puck comes out into center ice. The Islanders get to it there and then lose it. Bertie Nichols has it. Nichols fed it up to Kerry Wilson. His pass to Erickson was off his stick. This is Gronstrand. We played 2.5 minutes of sudden death overtime. Jeff Thornton turns in the Islander zone to get away from Turcotte. He's giving it to Gronstrand. Up to Brian Trottier. Dumps it into the Ranger zone. Away from Hardy. Van Beesbrook plays it up the middle. Off the boards now. Down into the Islander zone. This will be an icing call as Thornton goes back for it. Face off coming in the Ranger end of the ice. Now some chances, both teams. Gartner a wrap-around play, and then down at the other end of the ice, the Islanders had a great chance. Brad Lauer, seeing Roger Nielsen's goalkeeper, Van Beesbrook, go down to block it.
Hardest thing to do is when you're doing a wraparound attempt like that is to lift the puck up in the air. Here's Mike Gardner. He's got good outside speed against Crossman. He gets around, comes out, and it just misses as it goes across the goal. Just wide of the goal post on the other side. Here's Brad Lauer. From this angle now as he comes out, his weight is not going to go forward. It has to go back. He couldn't lift it high enough. John Van Beesbrook was down. There was room up high, but it's very difficult. You have to pull the puck back onto your forehand and then lift it up. But you don't have time to do all that. That's a luxury. In a wraparound attempt, it's not there.
Tommy Fitzgerald is out for the Islanders. Wins the draw with a pass to Kerr to Gronstrand. His shot is blocked. Fitzgerald had the stick knocked out of his hands. Gets a new one at the bench as Wilson unloads from the point. Healy makes his first stop in the overtime. The Islanders fail to clear the zone. Into the slot. King with a shot. And Healy blocks it and holds on with Turcotte standing right there. Now King puts the fist in Fitzgerald's face. The linesman quickly pulled people apart.
Something we have not had a lot of in this hockey game is the intimidation in front of the net after a goaltender stops the play, gloves in the face. Pretty good tempo to start the overtime, as you would expect. Here the Rangers chop the puck at the net. Healy makes the save and then hangs on. Turcotte standing, looking for a rebound. Nothing there. Gary Gronstrand draws a lot of ice time again tonight, doing a good job for the Islanders. He drew a lot more when in the second game of this series at Madison Square Garden, Ken Baumgartner was out because of the suspension from the first game. Islanders continue to use him.
Harry Gregson is talking to goaltender Glenn Healy at the side of the Islander net as the two teams set for the face-off. They brought a fresh water bottle from the Islander bench. Nourishment, some refreshment for Healy. The Islanders have outshot the Rangers in each of the three periods. 12-10 in the first, 17-10 in the second, 10-7 in the third. It's 39-27 after regulation time. Total shots on goal. Fifth time that the playoffs in the opening round of 1990 bid for the Stanley Cup. Gone to the overtime. The longest before a game was settled was last night in Los Angeles before Tony Granato scored at 8:37. Shortest, 4 minutes and 21 seconds when Mark Lamb scored for Edmonton to beat Winnipeg. We have played 3.5 minutes of this overtime period. Island gets the puck into the Islander zone. There's Troy Millette with a shot just wide of the net. It's bouncing out into the center ice area and recovered by Rochefort. James Patrick. Patrick banks it off the boards. Island moves it across to Diddick. Reddick over the center ice stripe, dumps it in right to Van Beesbrook. James Patrick picks it up. Plays it to the right wing boards and down into the Islanders zone, wide of the net, got through the goal crease. This too is an icing call. We've played 3 minutes and 55 seconds of sudden death overtime. As we look at Glenn Healy.
Glenn Healy regularly adjusting equipment. He has his gloves off and stick on top of the net. He does that more often than most goaltenders. Gets a new grip on the... Because I suppose, like anything, when your hands are in the glove, as long as they are, and your body's hot, sweating, his hands are hot, sweating, get the gloves off, kind of wipe the hands on the jersey, but by now the jersey has to be all with soaking wet. Kind of keep the hands dry, get a better grip on both the gloves.
A couple of the Ranger players trying to get Randy Moeller settled down. He was having a tirade, really, with the referee. No, I shouldn't say tirade, but he was jawing away at him. Finally, Hardy went over and calmed him down a little. Kissio spoke to him. Brent Sutter, Flatley, and Pollock for the Islanders. Kissio on the draw here for the Rangers. Sutter won the draw. Pollock plays it back of the New York Ranger goal. And Beesbrook left it there for Mark Hardy. Run around the glass, held in. Pollock tries to fire toward the net. It was blocked by Moeller, and quickly the Rangers get it out to Mullen. He turns it over. Norton found Sutter. The pass to Pollock on the left side. He pulls up on Moeller. David Pollock dumps it in deep. There's Flatley. He gets knocked off the puck. Sutter has it. Gets it to the blue line for Norton. Across to Doug Crossman. Into the corner. This is David Pollock. Puts it out in front. That's cleared away by Moeller. And out come the Rangers. Kissio over center ice, Mullen with him, the pass to Ogrodnik. He shoots that one wide of the net. Comes back to the blue line. Patrick unloads, and it's blocked by Brent Sutter. Ellie Kissio steps out of the corner. Played it back to Mullen for a shot. Look at that save by Healy, and he'll hold on to it.
Mullen gets time, and he rips it. It was a sharp angle. Healy had the corner shut off to him. The puck appeared to be just outside the goalpost, but a good shot. Here's our ice level camera. There's the shot. That was on the net. It was labeled, as they say. Healy making the save. Didn't know whether to take it with his body. He didn't want to give off a rebound. He snuck his glove out in front of his chest protector. Kind of an awkward looking save, but got the job done. John Van Beesbrook gets an opportunity for a breather at the other end as the heat now is on Healy.
Face off in the Islander end of the ice. The Rangers sending out Gartner, Erickson, and Nichols with Patrick and Roachwood on defense. Doug Crossman is headed for the Islander dressing room along with trainer Mark Aldridge. Crossman did not miss a game during the regular season. Heads to the dressing room. General manager Bill Torrey is standing in that runway, as is his habit during playoffs in overtime. He likes to see the other team's goaltender. Excellent. Yeah. James Patrick with a shot that gets through. Healy blocks it in the goal mouth. It comes loose. There's Nichols, and he's checked by Nyland. Oh, look at that shot turned aside by Healy. Man, the Rangers had an opportunity and couldn't put it home. Now Brian Trottier gets it to the line. Gartner picks it up again at center ice. Like Gartner, Erickson, and Gronstrand stepped into him. Now Erickson has it across the line. Shot one wide. Healy cut it off for Trottier. Trottier's pass is to Brad Lauer. He flips it out to Maloney at center. Jumped over his stick, and Roachford has nudged it back to Greshner. He turns it over. Trottier shoots from center ice. Knocked down by Van Beesbrook. Played 5.5 minutes of overtime. Nichols into the Islanders zone. Got checked by Derek King. The Rangers hold it at the blue line, however. Now Diddick is quick to cover up. Clear to center ice. Randy Moeller shooting it back in. Takes the turn, feeds it up right wing to Randy Wood. Trying to move in on Greshner. Goes wide on him. Can't cut in. What a play by Greshner. And the Rangers gather in the puck. Harry Wilson, lead pass. Over the line is Turcotte. He shoots. That's wide. It's off the boards. Healy out to handle it. Has played it away from Turcotte. Moeller waited for it. Gave it to Turcotte. Quick shot. Just wide of Healy. And it bounces out into the center ice zone. Randy Wood drops it back to McDonough. Goes in across the line on Hardy. McDonough, cross-ice pass, picked off and cleared up. Down they come. Kerry Wilson, one-on-one against Gronstrand. Back comes McDonough, and Wilson's shot is blocked. Chris King and Derek King go shoulder to shoulder. The Islanders come up with the puck and fail to clear it. Bowler's shot. Look, it's a save by Healy. A
Islanders controlled the puck in the early going of the overtime. The Rangers now are moving back into the Islanders' end the last couple of shifts. Randy Moeller, what a good low hard shot. Healy went guessing. He was screened on the play, went down, guessing low. He guessed right. Let's watch. Here's what Healy gets to look at. Look at the players now all come out in front of him. He knows the puck's coming. He gambles, and he gambled right, taking away a low hard shot by Randy Moeller.
The Rangers in overtime have had 4 shots on goal. The Islanders have had 3. They've played 6 minutes and 25 seconds of sudden death overtime at the Nassau Coliseum. More of a Let's Go Islanders chant here than Let's Go Rangers, which we had heard earlier tonight. Once the Islanders came back from a 3-1 deficit to force overtime, things have turned a little. Rangers get the draw. Patrick with a shot. Blocked in front, and Nyland's drive is grabbed by Healy. Gary Nyland is down on the ice in front of goalkeeper Glenn Healy.
Grasping for his face. He got hit by something, whether it was a stick. I don't think it was the puck, but he went down, reaching. Oh, he's cut. Yeah, the towel's the first thing they go for. Here's the replay. Oh, yeah. That puck came up and hit him right in the face. It deflected off something, a stick, a skate. There's the shot by Nyland, but watch Gary Nyland. He cuts in front as the puck is deflected. It hits him in the side of the face, much similar to what happened to Richard Pilon. Heading for the Rangers dressing room is Mark Hardy. He's limping as he goes down the runway. Nyland obviously cut, a bad cut, a lot of blood on the ice. He's under his own power. It appears to be in the nose area.
Trainer Mark Aldridge is already in the dressing room with Doug Crossman, and that's Joe Patton, who has been helping the Islanders this season. Joe is one of the trainers with the New York Jets, the NFL, and he is going to go off toward the Islander dressing room with Gary Nyland.
He'll be back. Just want to make sure if he needs any stitches or something, a butterfly occasionally sometimes to close up the smaller wounds. 13 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in the first overtime. Last we heard, the Montreal Canadiens had gone to overtime with Buffalo. Housley for Buffalo, Richer for Montreal. There's the overtime games, the previous ones between these two teams. Is that his lottery tickets that he's...
Well, that may have been irritating. Whatever he had in the pocket there was scratching through that fine quality shirt. Roger decided to get rid of it.
Probably a couple of dog biscuits that he forgot to take out of his pocket.
Trottier on the draw. Rangers get it back to James Patrick. His shot changed direction in front of the net. Recovered by Brad Lauer. Up ahead to Alan Kerr. Trying to play it through Rochefort. Now they get it into the Rangers zone, but James Patrick slaps it off the boards and hits Diddick at center ice. Harold Diddick dumps it in right to Van Beesbrook. Puts it back to the net for Rochefort. Trottier, Kerr, and Lauer for the Islanders. Millette is up front along with Chris Nyland and Mark Janssens for the Rangers. Here's Lauer trying to move in on James Patrick's side of the ice. Puck up behind the net. Kerr moved in, but James Patrick is up with the puck. Slaps one off the glass, held by Diddick. He shoots that, hit Rochefort. Lauer trying to get rid of James Patrick. Back it comes Thornton with a shot. That goes off Janssens. Ends up on Millette's stick. Sorry, Millette just clears it into center ice. Thornton takes it all the way back to the blue line, then fed it to Diddick. Diddick dumps one to the far side. Volley takes the hit from Kissio as Kerr goes for the puck. Trottier following up on the play, gets over the Ranger line. Bounced one right to John Van Beesbrook. One on Rochefort, rubbed out in his own zone. Here's Patrick Flatley after a loose puck. Flatley center, backhanded one just wide. Sutter feeds it out in front. Ronstrand with a shot that was blocked. Brent Sutter trying to get away from Kelly Kissio. Flatley rather trying to get away from Kissio now. Sutter stayed right at the side of the net. Jam up along the boards here. The puck underneath Kissio, and there's no further play.
Well, when you talk about advantages and disadvantages, the Islanders, with supposedly one of the youngest teams in the league, as this game goes along, it's to their advantage. Here's the play to Sutter. He deflects it. It goes up over the top well over the net. You could see Van Beesbroek going down. He was guessing. Sutter just making a deflection. Nice play here by Flatley. Sutter got it on the end of his stick. Puck tends to rise when you're trying to do anything. Shoot it, deflect it. When it's on the end of the stick, it generally goes high.
That line stays out on the ice. Sutter, Flatley, and Volek. Number 2 Islanders, 2 key defensemen already in the dressing room in this overtime, Crossman and Nyland. So they're down to Gronstrand and Norton on a regular combination here. Haven't seen Finley nor Baumgartner. Norton playing the left side, Gronstrand the right. Shot just to the left goalpost, to the left of the goalkeeper. And Beesbroek, and now it's spun down into the Islander zone, right to Healy. Feeds it off to Norton. Mullen chased him back of the net. Norton goes cross ice to Yari Gronstrand, up ahead to Brent Sutter, to David Volek. It jumped over his stick and was played back by Moeller to Kissio. Couldn't relay it in time for Brian Mullen to do anything with it, and now Yari Gronstrand dumps it around the boards. Islanders start out of the zone. Norton feeding it to Sutter. He steps over the center ice stripe. Across the Ranger line. Dropped it to Flatley for a shot that's wide. Volek in to knock it away from Moeller. Sutter is there as well, but now play is called. And with the stoppage, Doug Crossman returns from the Islander dressing booth. A little help on the defense corps. 11 minutes, 22 seconds remaining in the first overtime period. And with this stoppage, 8:38 having been played,
Troy Millette, he's now heading down to the dressing room for the Rangers, and again it seems to be equipment as Gary Nyland of the Islanders returns to the bench. So the Islanders have back both of their defensemen. A little red in the face, but outside of that doesn't look too marked up.
At Montreal, Brian Sprudlin has just scored, and the Canadians win Game 3, take a 2-1 lead in the series. Here's a chance for Millette, up off the face mask of Healy. Glenn shakes the head. He's all right, apparently. Finley tying the puck up here along the boards. It's knocked away from him. Now underneath him again, and that gets the whistle. So Montreal beats Buffalo 2-1 in overtime. This game will end with a 4-3 winner.
Sometime. They have been known to go a long way. There's the high rising shot up in the face area of Glenn Healy as Gardner rips a hard one. You can see it rising quickly. That puck, had it not hit Healy, would have gone over the net, I believe, but of course he can't gamble on that.
Now Nichols will face off. Ryan Trottier moves in for the Islanders, pulled the puck back. Rangers get to it. Gardner on his off wing shoots. Healy steers that aside. Diddick wraps one around the boards for Derek King coming down the left side. He did get it outside the line, and it's shot back in by Gardner. Skied one. And Gary Nyland works it up ahead for Randy Wood. Wood spots Trottier moving over center ice. Puts the puck in the Ranger zone. Backboard is Rochefort. King right on it. Trottier in as well, along with Nichols. Battle on the boards here is won by the New York Rangers. James Patrick carrying the puck. Passes to Mike Gardner. Take the shot as Nyland steps in front of him. Now Gardner plays it around the boards. Loose on right wing, recovered by Trottier. 2, now 3 Rangers drop back as Trottier gets over the line. Through some traffic, but can't get up with the puck again. Fuller failed to clear it out. Trottier has given it to Wood. 4 Rangers surrounding him. Wood can't knife his way through them. This is Gardner flipping it down into the Islander zone. Gronstrand took it out of the air, gets it back on the stick, and then is bumped from behind. Greshner shot it over the line. Here's Bernie Nichols with a drive. Healy the save. Wilson puts it back in the net. Gary Wilson feeds the blue line. Greshner dumps it in deeper. Chris King can't center from back of the net. McDonough rolled it out in front. There's Wilson, and he turns it over. The Islanders clear the zone, and the Rangers set up again at center ice. 8 shots on goal in the overtime for the New York Rangers, and Glenn Healy has withstood everything. Now it's Lauer across the line, but not with the puck. McDonough gets to it, and that'll be an offside against the Islanders.
Power by the Rangers, scoring opportunities, and Healy, much like John Van Beesbroek in the early part of this overtime, very busy. The Islanders have to take some of that pressure off, get the puck out of their own end of the ice. Bernie Nichols, he can whip it. The puck bouncing and rolling, a low, hard drive. The reaction of Glenn Healy with a left pad save as he steers it. Not only makes the save, but steers it off into the corner of the rink.
And with this play stoppage, Troy Millette has returned from the New York Ranger dressing room. Again, we believe it to be an equipment adjustment or problem, maybe a skate problem. He's here on left wing. Jansen's in the middle to take the face-off against Fitzgerald. Over on right wing is Chris Nyland for the Rangers. Wood, Fitzgerald, and Kerr for the New York Islanders as James Patrick dumps one in wide of the net. Chris Nyland after it, puts it behind the net. Gary Nyland moved it back to the blue line. James Patrick holding it in. Puts it behind the net. Nyland and Nyland came shoulder to shoulder, and the Islanders up with the puck. Alan Kerr with a pass to the far side. Fitzgerald got up ahead of Wood. Wood now dumps it in. Offside being delayed. The Islanders regained the blue line. The official's hand did not come down in the air, and now it's going to be called on an offside as Randy Wood made contact. And the Islanders appealing. They cleared the zone, really. But the linesman.
Here is how the Montreal Canadiens win it. Shane Corson with the puck behind the Buffalo net, gives it to Brian Skrudland. He gets his second goal of the playoffs. Montreal a 2-1 winner in overtime. They lead the series 2-1. Back to Jiggs McDonald and Eddie Westfall.
Back at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, a face-off coming just outside the New York Ranger blue line. 8 minutes and 45 seconds, the time remaining in sudden death overtime. Mark Fitzpatrick, backup goaltender's role tonight, looking up at the entertainment wall and the time clock. Assistant Fitzgerald. Over on right wing is Chris Nyland for the Rangers. Wood, Fitzgerald, and Kerr for the New York Islanders as James Patrick dumps one in wide of the net. Chris Nyland after it, puts it behind the net. Gary Nyland moved it back to the blue line. James Patrick holding it in. Puts it behind the net. Nyland and Nyland came shoulder to shoulder, and the Islanders up with the puck. Alan Kerr with a pass to the far side. Fitzgerald got up ahead of Wood. Wood now dumps it in. Offside being delayed. The Islanders regained the blue line. The official's hand did not come down in the air, and now it's going to be called on an offside as Randy Wood made contact, and the Islanders appealing. They cleared the zone, really. But the linesman.
Here is how the Montreal Canadiens win it. Shane Corson with the puck behind the Buffalo net, gives it to Brian Skrudland. He gets his second goal of the playoffs. Montreal a 2-1 winner in overtime. They lead the series 2-1. Back to Jiggs McDonald and Eddie Westfall.
Back at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, a face-off coming just outside the New York Ranger blue line. 8 minutes and 45 seconds, the time remaining in sudden death overtime. Mark Fitzpatrick, backup goaltender's role tonight, looking up at the entertainment wall and the time clock. Assistant coach Lauren Henning talking to Randy Wood and Alan Kerr as they come back to the bench.
Both teams into the mode of changing on the fly. The players are in good shape. They're as in good a shape as they can be now, and with just a half a minute, 45 seconds, the body recovers pretty good, depending, of course, how long this overtime goes. But both teams want to change quickly, try and use as many players as possible, spread it out, spread the responsibility, the ice time out.
The Islanders have Sutter, Pollock, and Flatley out on the ice. Randy Moeller dumping it in. In the forecheck is Ogrodnik, but the Islanders can't get Sutter over center ice. Now Mullen dumps it in. Kissio, Ogrodnik, and Mullen up front for the Rangers. What a line during the late stages of the regular season. Sutter putting the puck on Pollock's stick. Up ahead, missed Flatley with the feed at the blue line. Lindy Ruff slaps one off the boards. The Islanders can't get to it. Now Diddick does, and held it in the Ranger zone. That's Brent Sutter playing it around Moeller. Flatley trying to center. Sutter goes back in the net. Up to Pollock. A backhander is grabbed by Van Beesbroek.
Fine play. The Islanders hustle Brent Sutter. Pat Flatley. They get the puck to Pollock, and his backhand shot, Van Beesbroek guessed perfectly. There's the play as Sutter picks up the puck from Flatley. He wheels it out. Backhand shot by Pollock. He gets taken out of the play by Hardy. Van Beesbroek's responsibility, the puck. There's the puck. Van Beesbroek has a grip on it.
Rangers are out shooting the Islanders 8-4 in this overtime period, which is now the longest in the playoffs this year, having been played, 11 minutes and 55 seconds. I mentioned earlier that last night's game in Los Angeles had been the longest till tonight at 8 minutes and 37 seconds. We're trying to check on the time of Skrudlin's goal. It was at the 12:35 mark, so this is not the longest overtime. Bernie Nichols. He's given it to Rochefort. It shoots from the blue line. Healy making the save. Rochefort plays it around behind the net. Trottier and Nichols came together. And now Nyland leads it up right wing. Randy Wood is into the Ranger zone. Wood with a shot up high. Van Beesbroek has it. It dropped into the top of his pads.
Islanders doing just what they have to do. We were talking about the fact that the Rangers were getting the scoring opportunities, and the Islanders now for the last two shifts have brought the play back to John Van Beesbroek. David Volek a moment ago with a backhand shot. Nyland grabs the puck in his own end of the ice, feeds it ahead to Randy Wood. He stops quickly and lets it fly. See the sticks waving in front of it, trying to be a catcher, I suppose, handling a baseball that somebody's swinging a bat at. John Van Beesbroek is able to hold on to it.
The Islanders sending up the forward line of McDonough, Lauer, and Maloney, with Norton and Diddick on defense. Turcotte will step in to face off against McDonough. Turcotte puts it back to the net for Muller. Maloney chases him toward the corner. There's Kerry Wilson. The puck comes back to Norton. Jeff Norton's shot is blocked. Rangers step out of the zone. This is Turcotte with a pass to Chris King. He's put it in the far corner. Wilson after it, but Norton knocked it away, getting it to Lauer. To Diddick. The pass just off the mark. Diddick hustles back. Gave it to McDonough. He's worked it out toward center ice. Eisner forces the Islanders back in deeper. Healy slows it up. Norton checks his options, then leaves it for McDonough, who was coming back in the net. Hands responds. Hubie. He's given it to Norton, up to McDonough, tips it into the Ranger zone. He and Muller go to the corner together. The Islanders flood the zone. Maloney can't get to it. McDonough can't get out of the grasp of Muller. Gary Gregson is going to let them play. They'll decide it themselves. This is Lauer. Back it comes. Norton held it at the line, then skied one in behind the net. Muller plays it up the boards, off Maloney to Darren Turcotte. Looks at King going down the left side. Now they cross over. Turcotte maintains control of the puck. Shoots it toward the net, only to have it cleared by Norton. On Maloney, plays it to the line. Lauer moves up, got tripped up. Stepped on Turcotte's stick. And felt there should have been a penalty, none to be called. Patrick steps over the line for the Rangers, shoots. Healy got just a chunk of that. The Rangers trying to gain control again. Eriksson is knocked off the puck, and it's Hubie McDonough clearing the zone. He's given it to Jeff Norton. Norton over the line, sent it to Maloney on the left side. Back in deep to Norton. Norton rubbed out on the end boards. The puck is loose. Fitzgerald puts a hitch on Bernie Nichols. In the meantime, over the line with it is Gartner, and he shot one wide. Gartner colliding with a stick that's on the ice. The puck comes back to Nichols. Turns, shoots from the point. That's tipped just wide off Gartner's stick. Gartner all set up. Couldn't relay it. Now Eriksson can't get it to Gartner, and on the ensuing play, Fitzgerald feeds it to Kerr. The Islanders move into the Ranger zone, but Wood couldn't catch up with the puck again, and Muller dumps it to center ice. 14 and a half minutes into the overtime, the Islanders dump the puck into the New York Ranger zone. Back on it is Lindy Ruff. Banks it off the boards, off Fitzgerald. Gathering it in is Nichols. He comes down left wing, cutting to the right side. Drop pass, and it's offside as a man ahead of the play. Mullen over on right wing, I believe.
Dangerous play, offside. Back checking for the Islanders. They'll take it. Setting it up. Bernie Nichols, as he looked for and was ready to drop, to Moeller coming up quickly. Gardner, what a chance. One of the best scoring chances in overtime so far. Bernie Nichols wheels it to the front of the net. There's Mike Gardner standing in behind Jeff Norton. Tried to deflect it up high. He did, but it was wide of the goalpost to the left of Glenn Healy. Good scoring chance for the New York Rangers. Almost said Washington Capitals. So used to seeing Mike Gardner playing the Islanders in the playoffs.
Another fresh water bottle delivered to Glenn Healy.
Actually, what he's doing is he's flooding his end of the ice.
Sutter on the face-off with Kissio, as it has been most of the evening, and the Islanders control it. Doug Crossman dumps it out towards center ice. We have played 15 minutes of sudden death overtime as of this second. 3-3 is the score. Patrick Flatley moving up along the boards, but the Islanders can't get the puck to him. He's knocked away from Crossman, but Sutter is right on his man, trying to tie up Kissio. Rodnick nudged it loose, and Brent Sutter comes away with it. Sutter spreads the Rangers out as he gets across the line with a pass to Flatley. Deflected right to Van Beesbroek. Flatley was trying to set up Bollig over on left wing.
He was covered closely by Kelly Kissio, but the puck goes off a defenseman's skate, and as Van Beesbroek appeared to be moving to his right, the puck deflected back to the area he was standing in. Here's the drop pass by Sutter. There's the pass by Flatley off the skates of the defenseman. Van Beesbroek, off balance, has to grab it with his catching glove and stop the play. David Bollig, he was taken back to the net by Kissio and then picked up by Brian Mullen.
Trottier out with Wood and King now. You're looking at Derek King. He's over to the left of Trottier. Wood is on the right, lined up against Rochefort. Well into the face-off circle. Mark Gauthier drops the puck and the Rangers get to it. Troy Millette goes round behind the goal. Trottier right on him. And that ends up in the Islander players bench. They'll face it off again deep in the Ranger territory. These two teams meet in Game 4 here at the Nassau Coliseum on Wednesday night. We'll have it for you on Sports Channel beginning at 7:15 with the Islander pregame show in the New York area, and joining the network at 7:30.
The Rangers' overtime record, 23 wins, 23 losses. Their last overtime game was March the 5th against the Montreal Canadiens back in 1986. Claude Lemieux scored at 9:41, and the Rangers lost 4-3.
Well, the Rangers into the Islander zone. That couldn't handle a bouncing puck, got it up in the air a little bit, and Derek King takes it after Norton moved it out. This is Randy Wood coming down the right side, trying to cut inside. Teammate ahead of him. He gets the play back onside. James Patrick chases him to the corner. Wood went to center, one that's cleared away by Rochefort. Ronstrand holds it at the right point. Gets it back to the net. Ryan Trottier digs it off the boards. Looks for somebody in front, trying to center it. Hit Van Beesbroek, who dives out to cover it. And holds on. 3:51, the time remaining. First of the sudden death overtime span. How long will it be?
Yeah, this is the longest Rangers overtime game since Stemmer. Pete Stemkowski beat the Chicago Blackhawks 41 minutes, 29 seconds. April the 29th, 1971.
And Stemmer is at the game tonight.
Yeah.
He is at every Islander home game. Pete Stemkowski lives here in the Long Island area. Actually, I guess down in Long Beach. A radio personality in this area for some time. On and off the air, too. I should qualify that. Greshner from back in the net. Laying it up along the boards. It went to Doug Crossman covering the right point. He put it back in the net for Don Maloney. Maloney and Moeller battled for control of it. Kicked loose, and Greshner takes over. On Greshner to Chris King. He's given it to Kerry Wilson. Cuts to the right side. Drops it back. Nobody there for the New York Rangers. And now Moeller dumps it in. Rangers get back on side as Gary Nyland makes the pass to Crossman. Up ahead for McDonough. McDonough over the Ranger line. Here's it from the crowd. Drops it to Don Maloney. Shoots Van Beesbroek the save. Maloney gathers in the rebound. Centers it, but Kerry Wilson intercepts. Wilson, lead pass to Turcotte. Off his stick, and Gary Nyland slaps one off the boards. Off Kerry Wilson as well. Wilson kept it in the Islander end of the ice, and now Nyland is able to clear it out. 3 minutes to go in the sudden death overtime period. Chris King puts it deep in the Islander zone. Glenn Healy lays the boards with a pass to Crossman. To Lauer, to McDonough, back to Lauer. Backhands it down into the Ranger zone. Van Beesbroek out to play it, misplayed it. Now gets it up the left wing boards. And it's Erickson beating Bernie Nichols. His pass finds its way to Gartner. Steps over the line. Gartner unloads one that's blocked by Norton. Gartner gets rubbed out on the end boards, and Diddick, covering the right corner, is able to clear the zone. It's help from Flatley. The Islanders move up 3-on-2. Sutter over the line with a pass to Bollig. Holds it. Went to center, one that hit James Patrick. And Sutter trying to move it out of the corner. Cannot. And Bernie Nichols taking up the right side to Mike Gartner. That's into the middle of the ice. partner to the Islander line. Held control of the puck, gave it to Muller, to Nichols. He shoots, that's wide. Bounces off to the left wing. Out comes Brian Trottier with David Pollock. 3 Rangers get back as Pollock comes over the line. Gives it to Flatley. Flatley bumped by Mullen, taken to the boards now by Nichols. Here's Brian Trottier controlling the puck. Centers one. Van Beesbroek steers it off to Mullen. Overled Eriksson as he broke the zone. Islanders set up again at center ice, but Trottier's pass was tipped by Mullen and goes right to Crossman. Now to Norton. Norton dumps it to the Ranger line off Muller. Andy Wood brings it back in on the right side. It's checked by Brian Mullen. Mullen found Kissio moving up, but he couldn't get the pass onto his stick. Crossman puts it back inside the Ranger zone. That's Muller. They head now to Kissio. Kissio punched it onto Mullen's stick. Ryan Mullen can't get around Nyland. He drops it into the far corner, and here is Derek King. King steps away from the check of Kissio. Comes to center ice. King over the Ranger line. Plays it through Patrick Skates. Backboard is O'Brodick. Shot it off the boards. Randy Wood traps it. Shoots. Van Beesbroek makes the save. King on the left side. Can't get it to the front of the net as James Patrick is all over him. Kissio moves it up to O'Brodick. Now to Brian Mullen. Mullen at center ice. 48 seconds left in the overtime. Mullen looks to the right wing, getting it to O'Brodick. His shot blocked. Another shot is deflected wide. Rangers go for a player change as David Pollock comes down the right side. A pass to Wood. He's dumped it in behind the net. Van Beesbroek handles it there. Slapped it off the glass. It spins to Diddick. Can't get the shot away. And quickly, Rochefort sends Nyland into the Islander zone. Chris Nyland trying to cut in. It's poked away by Jeff Norton. He's given it to Pollock. Norton is hurt. Back to the play. Here's Flatley over the Ranger line. Drops it to Brent Sutter. Sutter shoots. That's blocked by the defenseman Breshner. And the Rangers clear the zone, and play is called now with 8 seconds remaining in the overtime. And Norton has been down on the ice a long, long time. Gets attention from trainer Mark Aldridge. The referees, the officials, to their credit, would not call the play as long as the Islanders were in control of the puck and in the offensive end of the ice.
Jeff Norton was drilled. He needs help down there. Look at the trainer work frantically, trying to help him out.
Dave Smith off the Ranger bench. The Islander medical staff racing the length of the ice now to attend to Jeff Norton.
Problem is when the players, sometimes they go into shock. The doctor is waving for something or somebody. We've got...
They're calling now, I believe, for the stretcher.
Ed, here's the hit by Muller, I believe, from behind. Just Millette, I guess it was. Carried him into the boards heavily. Just squeezed him in there. He ran him from behind. Gary Nyland now has the stretcher.
Got a feeling there's going to be a penalty after the officials huddled.
And it could be a 5-minute major penalty if the linesman in their report, the referee didn't see it obviously, or he would have called it or stopped the play immediately.
Now the signal is, as you look at the officials, Mark Aldridge has just signaled that he wants the surgical collar. This is where we got concerned the other evening when Pat LaFontaine was carried from the ice. They're bringing out the collar. Hopefully it's just a precautionary measure.
The Rangers now waiting to find out. You know that something isn't going in their best interest because they're arguing with Gerard Gauthier, the linesman right now. The referee is telling Bernie Nichols to cool it. First of all, there's a circle drawn down there, a half moon on the ice. They're not supposed to be inside it. Let's take another look. Nyland pushing at Jeff Norton. Then bang from behind. The head snaps back as Troy Millette runs Jeff Norton from behind. Now, it's going to give the Islanders an advantage depending on the severity that the referee feels that it deserves. It could be a 5-minute major for boarding. That's up to the linesman because the referee did not see it. He went all the way down the ice, and it wasn't until he got to the Islanders' end of the ice, or I should say the Rangers' end of the ice, and looked back that he saw Norton laying on the ice.
Rangers penalty number 26,
5-minute boarding penalty. seconds is all that remains in the first overtime period. They may decide to play. Let's look again. Norton looks up the ice. He's hooked from behind by Nyland and then run by, whoa, look at his head. See how he snaps when he went into the boards. He hasn't moved. Of course, they'll tell him not to move if he was coherent, as Mark Aldrich scrambled from the Islanders bench of a good 150 feet in record time to get to him. There's an instinct that players and trainers have when players fall a certain way or get hit a certain way. They know that they're hurt, and there was no question about the fact that Norton had been injured. So with Pat LaFontaine out of the Islanders lineup with a hard hit from James Patrick, and I say a good hard hit because it was a legal hit. Now we've got Jeff Norton down, and he's been down and stationary a long time. Dr. Jeff Minkoff has stood at one end of the ice at the opening. Flatley is over talking to two doctors. They're now moving out onto the area of where Norton is laying. They probably help in moving if they're going to move him. That's Dr. Jeff Minkoff on the left. He's the orthopedic surgeon and has been from day one for the Islanders. Now they're rolling Norton onto his side to get the part of the carrying stretcher under him. I'm surprised the referee hasn't called the end of the first overtime and tack it on to the next one with only 8 seconds remaining. It would probably make it a lot better for everybody concerned.
As we look at the picture now at the Islander bench, they're still huddled with Norton, and just now lifting him onto the stretcher. You see the concern on the face of his teammates. Nice round of applause.
Even the Ranger bench showing some concern. Players recognize that. It doesn't matter what shirt you're wearing at the time. They do not feel that good about any of it.
The fans are reacting to Ken Baumgartner coming out on the ice to back and talk to Glenn Healy. He's become a popular figure in that uniform, number 24. Brent Sutter is headed back toward the Islander bench as
he's probably going to signal the players to go to the dressing room. I think they're probably going to tack the 8 seconds on. He's talking to Lorne. No, they're getting some more stuff here. I guess Mark Aldrich needs something that Captain Brent Sutter brought to him. He may be going with Jeff Norton to the hospital.
Not a pretty sight. Taking him toward the Zamboni entrance, which would indicate the ambulance has already been backed into that area. Meantime, Troy Millette, who delivered the hit, receives a indicate the ambulance has already been backed into that area. Meantime, Troy Millette, who delivered the hit, receives a major penalty for boarding. He's already gone to the New York Ranger dressing room, finished for the night. However long this sudden death overtime may go.
Jeffy, we got him, buddy. Don't worry about
Interesting. It brings up questions, you know, and a guy like Mick Vukota gets a 10-game suspension, and Bloomberg is a scratch tonight. He was scratched from the lineup. He hasn't missed any time, and Vukota, and I'm not saying that it's wrong that he got the 10 games. It just seems to me that when a player is attacked from behind, such as Jeff Norton was, one of the things, one of the concerns of everybody in the league over the past couple of seasons, and for a long time, but they felt they wanted to do more about it, was cross-checking and hitting from behind, pertaining a great deal to the front of the net, when players were cross-checked viciously by defensemen standing in behind forwards. And to see a player such as Norton get just run over from behind, yes, a 5-minute major penalty in overtime is severe as far as the outcome of the hockey game could be, but then he'll be back to play in the hockey game and probably not miss any time, and Norton could be finished 1 for the game, 2 for the series, and we'll hope that it's, you know, looking at it through dim glasses, but things such as that have ended careers in the past, and yet Millette could go on and finish out his career if Norton couldn't.
You know, you make reference to Vakota being suspended for 10 games. I have read that rule, 54G, and I'm going to have to get somebody with legal experience, I think, to interpret how a 10-game suspension results from that particular rule in the case that developed at the Garden the other night. But that's all history. It's water over the dam, as they say at this point.
And it doesn't really make any difference. We're not talking about one team or the other. I'm talking about anybody that does this in the game. I'm talking about it as from a league standpoint, that players that do that, I mean, it's really a cowardly act to run a guy from behind.
Now they're going to play the final 8 seconds of this sudden death overtime period. Sutter wins the draw, giving it to Diddick. Long shot. Van Beesbroek handles it. Puts it back in the net. Armand Rochefort slaps it around the boards, and we'll get another 15-minute rest and head for a second overtime period. In that period that just ended, the New York Rangers managed 10 shots on goal, and the New York Islanders end up with 9. Rangers had the early advantage in shots, but Glenn Healy was brilliant, and when he had to be, John Van Beesbroek came up with some big saves in the New York Ranger net. But when the second overtime begins here at the Nassau Coliseum, the Islanders will have a man advantage, a major penalty to Millette for boarding at 19:52. Amazing how the crowd was taken out of this. The entire enthusiasm just dropped with the injury to Jeff Norton.
I think what happens is everybody gets it in their mind. What is the worst thing? You always think of what is the worst thing that could happen to them, and it's not very pleasant when you think how bad it could be.
No, not at all. For the Islanders tonight, Brent Sutter, Patrick Flatley, and Hubie McDonough have been the goal scorers. Patrick Nicholson Millette for the Rangers. 3-3 is the score. We'll return to our Sports Nightly studios after we pause for these messages.
To a second overtime. Well, by virtue of their split in the first 2 games in Buffalo, the Montreal Canadiens own home ice advantage against the Sabres. The Habs are trying to use the foreign mystique and a hot goaltending of Patrick Roy to their advantage. This game was 1-1 going into overtime, but the Canadiens will win it. Shane Corson gives it to Brian Strudlin. He beats Darren Pupai in overtime, and Montreal comes up with the victory. They win this game by a score of 2-1 as Pat Burns celebrates on the Montreal bench. The Canadiens doing it with a good play. They win it 2-1 in overtime. They lead the series 2-1. And Dennis Potvin, you take a look at it. Strudlin with the goal, Richer on the ice. That line has been spectacular.
Well, along with Corson, they make up the best offensive line for the Montreal Canadiens. Of the 6 goals that they scored in this series, 4 of them come from that line. 2 for Richer and 2 for Strudlin. You know that Corson has been banging bodies and making things open up for them. Patrick Roy has been playing well with the shutout, had an outstanding night tonight. If the Montreal Canadiens want their big men going, so far they've got them.
All right, the Canadiens lead that best-of-7 series 2-1. Well, the Hartford Whalers were another one of the teams that gained a split on the road. However, against the Bruins, home ice isn't such an advantage. During the regular season, the Bruin goalies, Andy Moog and Reggie Lemonin, posted a 2-1-1 mark at Hartford. We take a look at the action. Whalers took control in the third period. Dave Babich, he scores 36 seconds in, 3-2 Whalers. They open it up later. Brad Shaw, the initial shot. Pat Verbeek the goal. Whalers go on to win it by a score of 5-3 in this game. Hartford leads that series 2-1. And Dennis Potvin, the Hartford Whalers get the power play going. That's what they needed.
Well, they were 0 for 14, as you know, going into this game. And 0 for 14 is not going to win any hockey games in the playoffs. Pat Verbeek, 2 goals. One of them a power play goal. 44-goal man during the season. The Hartford Whalers are happy to have him back in the scoring lineup. The other thing is that the Hartford Whalers seem to have found the secret to stopping the Boston Bruins. Cam Neely, Ray Bourque ineffective tonight. Hartford Whalers have countered at every step to Boston Bruins' efforts.
All right, the Whalers lead that series 2-1. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Patrick Division semifinals after this on Sports Channel America. Scoring goals has not been a problem. Making saves has been. Mike Liut and Don Beaupre have tried for Washington, while Sean Burke and Chris Terreri have given it a shot for New Jersey. Which combination was trying it tonight? Well, it was Liut and Terreri. First period scoreless hockey game. John Morris finds Ken Danico, and he scores the goal. 1-0 Devils. Second period, Devils look to add to their 1-0 lead. On the power play, Morris with the shot. Brendan Shanahan tips it in. Devils lead it 2-0. They go on to win it by a 2-1 score. Dino Cicerelli gets his 6th goal of the playoffs. Devils lead the series now 2-1. And Dennis Potvin, you look at the Devils, it looks like John Cuniff is going to go with Chris Scary Terreri.
Well, he's going to go with him for the simple reason that I feel he's played a lot better. You know that Burke gave up some soft goals early in the first game. That's a real no-no. You have to play catch-up hockey. Terreri's goals, the goals that he gave up in the second game, really came because of the fault of the defenseman. It really wasn't his fault. He played a strong game. Tonight, the Devils only got 10 shots and won a 2-1 hockey game. You've got to look to your goaltender. Terreri played an outstanding game tonight again. I'm sure we'll see him again in the future games for the Devils.
And also in watching that game, the Devils just simply out-hitting Washington. Now in the game that you're all watching, the Rangers and Islanders 3-3 heading into a second sudden death overtime. And the big story here, Troy Millette, a 5-minute boarding penalty. Dennis, I have to ask you, was it a clean hit? Should he have gotten 5?
As a defenseman, you often realize that there are going to be times in the game where you're going to be put in a position that you don't really want to be in, and that position is no man's land. That is found when the defenseman is being harassed, as he is here by Chris Nyland. 2 feet from the boards, you get hit from the back. It's hard to make that a call like a 5-minute call, but the fact is that Jeff Norton is injured and injured badly. We certainly hope that he will recover quickly, but the no man's land is a zone that every defenseman is aware of, and in time you tend to develop a 6th sense just for the sheer protection. But in this case, Jeff Norton really didn't have a chance. The referees made a judgment call, and Millette is gone for the game, and the Islanders now have a 5-minute power play into the overtime.
All right, 3-3 is the score. They head to the second overtime. We'll bring it to you up next on Sports Channel America.
1. Flatley and McDonough scored in the third period to force overtime. And with 8 seconds remaining in the overtime, Jeff Norton was injured. Troy Millette banished from the game with a major penalty for boarding and a game misconduct at 19:52. They played the final 8 seconds. The teams are still in the dressing room, and we're awaiting their return for the start of the second overtime period. Each team had some good scoring chances, Ed, in that overtime, didn't they?
Yes, they did. The Rangers, Mike Gardner, he is very dangerous, tries this on a wraparound. It just went beyond the goalpost to the left of Healy. Then at the other end of the ice, John Van Beesbroek is tested as the Islanders move the puck into the Rangers' end of the ice. Brad Lauer gets in behind James Patrick, and he tries to put it up high, but can't. Van Beesbroek takes away a scoring attempt by Brad Lauer. Then Randy Moeller from his right point position ripped a hard shot. Healy grabs a hold of it with Chris King, Turcotte, all trying to find a loose puck to jab into the open net, but none was coming.
Well, the officials are back out on the ice in just a moment. The second overtime will be underway. We'll return to the Nassau Coliseum right after these messages.
Awaiting, Glenn Healy hasn't returned, but that's, I think, just he probably changed his undergarments and stuff. It takes them longer as goaltenders. Let's look again at the 5-minute major penalty to Troy Millette as he charged Jeff Norton. Nyland forechecking. Jeff Norton knocked the puck away from Nyland. Now he looks up, grabs or tries to get, and here comes Millette. Now look at the head now as it snaps here, one into the glass, and it's the recoil coming off that does probably as much damage as the initial hit. And for that, Millette gets a 5-minute major penalty for boarding.
We have a report from the dressing room area that when Millette left the ice and went to the Ranger locker room, he was confronted by an injured Islander defenseman named Richard Pilon. Heated words, shouting at one another, and security had to get between them. Richard reacting to the hit delivered by Millette. Roger Nielsen reacting, telling his team he wants them to handle this overtime. Mark Hardy is in the Ranger dressing room, we're told. He has re-injured his right ankle and will not return. The injury report out day to day. This is the longest overtime in the history of the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The old record was 19 minutes and 58 seconds of overtime on May 16th. The Stanley Cup final against Vancouver when Mike Bossy scored in a 6-5 Islander win. This one will end 4-3. Favor of New York. Will be the Rangers or the Islanders. Puck skied over the glass into the seats.
We did get a report that Dr. Schaffenberger on Norton, he said he was unconscious for a short time. It is unlikely that he has a neck or spine injury or damage to either, as he has feeling in both his legs and his arms. So that preliminary report from the doctor that first got there, Dr. Schaffenberger, a good one as far as Jeff Norton is concerned.
Norton has been taken to the Winthrop University Medical Center. As Brent Sutter brings the puck into the Ranger zone, trying to center one. James Patrick falling is able to clear it out. And Crossman comes back. Crossman and Nyland on the points. The Rangers changing up. The Islanders trying to move across the line. Here's Brent Sutter getting it to Volek. Back to Sutter, to Patrick Flatley, to Sutter, to the blue line for Gary Nyland. Over to Doug Crossman. They spread things out with his power play. Head back to Nyland. Fires one that was blocked. Off Mullen, right to Crossman, into Volek. David Volek takes a look toward Crossman. Worked it in deeper to Sutter. Back to Volek. Now to Crossman. Finley has picked up the left point position as Volek feeds him. Jeff Finley with a shot. They score! Brent Sutter!
How about those apples? What a nice passing play. The Islanders open the hockey game with a power play. They finish it with a power play. 59 seconds into the second overtime. What a nice move. Volek to Finley. Finley to Brent Sutter, standing to the left for John Van Beesbrook. And he just redirected a nice crisp pass. And the Islanders have taken game 3.
What a nice heads-up play by the rookie defenseman. You see the reaction of John Van Beesbrook. Heading down, leaving the ice, headed toward the Ranger dressing room. That means there will be a 5th game in this series. The Islanders are back into it, defeating the Rangers. In 59 seconds of the second sudden death overtime period, Brent Sutter with a power play goal. Looking at themselves at the entertainment wall, the Islanders continue to congratulate one another.
Everybody that started the hockey game is still here. Doug Crossman to David Volek. He fake held the puck and gave it across to Finley. What a nice move here. Finley quickly. He made it look as though he was taking a shot. He throws Van Beesbrook on his side of the ice and quickly gave it to Brent Sutter. His second goal of the hockey game. Second goal of the playoffs. Overtime victory for the New York Islanders.
And again, it comes at the 59-second mark of sudden death. There again, Volek, cross ice, Finley moves in, spotted Sutter. He tips it by Van Beesbrook. So Brent Sutter with the overtime goal, his second goal in this game, both of them up for that advantage. And you look at it from behind the net on this replay.
Good look at the play. What a move by Volek. What a move by Finley. As if they had planned it out in the dressing room all before they got to the ice. 59 seconds after they dropped the puck for the second overtime period.
It took 49 shots before the Islanders could beat the Rangers in this game. The final score is the New York Islanders 4, the New York Rangers 3, as we pause.
second sudden death overtime. The Islanders over the Rangers 4-3. The Rangers lead the series 2-1. Brent Sutter got the first goal of the night. He gets the last goal of the night, both on the power play. We talked about Pat LaFontaine being out. Brent Sutter has taken the leadership role.
Well, Brent Sutter with 33 goals this year. If you had taken a pool to see who was going to score the winning goal and you were an Islander fan, Brent Sutter might have got the most votes. And yes, the team captain came through. A great play by rookie Jeff Finley moving the puck across. The Islanders, 3 unanswered goals. Pull out a victory in Game 3. It's a new series. Mr. Nielsen, the coach of the Rangers, said if the Islanders win this one, it could be a long series. Now we'll have to wait and see.
And Glenn Healy, a great night between the pipes as well. And David Volek, once again, setting up the play. He also had a very good night. So the Islanders beat the Rangers 4-3 in the second sudden death overtime. Well, we continue that road toward the Stanley Cup Championship tomorrow night here on Sports Channel America, 7:30 Eastern, Norris Division semifinal game number 4. The Blues will try to eliminate Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens, 7:30. Check your local listing. Chicago is at Minnesota tomorrow evening. The Blackhawks lead that series 2-1, 8:30 Eastern. And at 10:30 Eastern, Calgary skates against the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings lead that best-of-7 series 2-1. For Dennis Potvin, I'm Bob Papa. We hope you enjoy the NHL on Sports Channel America. Stay tuned for Sports Nightly.
ICENET. Dynasties live here.
Coverage you can find. At National Security Brokerage, our clients are #1, and we promise you will always get the very best coverage tailored for your needs. We understand living on Long Island because we do too. We're all Islanders, and if you want Long Island's best team for insurance, go for National Security Brokerage. You'll feel secure with National Security Brokerage. Let's go Islanders!